Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Okay, let's see if this is working now. Okay, so let me know, guys, in the side if it's working. Please come on. Just need to make sure that make sure it comes on here. Yeah, so if it's working, just put in the comments, inshallah. Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullah. Okay, just trying to get this. I don't know why it's not working. Events. Okay, here it is. Alhamdulillah. Okay, 1 second, guys. Let me just finish off. I don't know, guys. Do you guys find it better with the chat on the screen, or I don't know how you guys find it? Whether it's better with the chat on the screen or. Okay, that's it now. You guys should be able to. Okay, alright, let's start then. I think it's working now. Ya Allah. Yeah, so let me know what you guys think of if I should have this. If you guys think that having the chat on the side is chat screen that appears on the screen. I don't know if you guys can read it or not. Okay, so wa alaikum assalam, mashallah, MP Ziryab, mashallah, Manfado, wa alaikum assalam, mashallah, looking proper Parental. Yeah, so I found this is my old hat someone gave me once, and so I found it today and thought, you know what, winter's going to be over soon, so I'm going to have to make a bit of use of it. So I had a question on inheritance, specifically the scenario of one wife, one father, one mother, and two daughters surviving the deceased. Is it simply a case of reducing the portions proportionately? No. So what you do is you basically so it's one father, so it's one mother, two daughters, one wife. So a wife would basically receive 1/8. I mean, it all fits into a whole 24 shares. So wife would get 1/8. The daughters would share 2/3. So daughters would get 16 out of 24. Wife would get 3 out of 24. A mother would get 6. That's 4 out of 24. And then the father would get the remainder. Okay, so hello. Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Sister Angela, mashallah, good to see you. Haven't seen you for many weeks. Alhamdulillah, I'm very good, thank you very much. Alhamdulillah. True Afghan, that's the way, man, that's the way. Back to our roots. Okay, right, so let's let's start answering some questions now. So okay, so let's start with. So today in Curious Cat there isn't that many questions, or there aren't that many questions rather. Alright, so let's start off then. Okay, so this is a question someone asked me, and initially when I responded to it on Curious Cat, I actually realized later that I did make a mistake. Someone did point out to me. So I went and looked it up again. So the question is basically this. If someone has not completed their Umrah, but they cut the hair of someone else who has performed Umrah, so that the person can get out of Ihram, what is the ruling? So basically this masala, I actually looked this masala up in many places I could. And the issue with this masala was that the Hanafis have taken the opinion that when a person cuts someone's hair in the state of Ihram, so let's say for example I'm in Ihram and I cut someone's hair, whether that person I cut is a muhrim in the state of Ihram, or whether that person was a non-muhrim, then according to Hanafis this is not allowed, right? So you're not allowed to cut your own hair, you can't cut anyone else's hair, because Allah in the Quran says la tahliqu ru'usakum, do not cut your hair. So the Hanafis say if you cut someone, so for example someone who is a non-muhrim, so someone who is what we call halal, not in the state of Ihram, if you cut their hair, then you have to give some sadaqah, just give a few pounds to charity. If you cut a muhrim's hair, again you give a few pounds. But the problem is if the person is a muhrim, then they will have to give dam, because they have committed an offense in the state of Ihram, so they have to slaughter an animal. Now the issue which I could not find in the Hanafi text, and if someone does find it then please let me know, which was if a person has completed all the acts of Ihram, so all the acts of Umrah, everything's done, now they have to cut their hair, then why would cutting someone's hair who is a muhrim at that particular moment be considered to be wrong? Because they have to cut their hair anyway. So that was the only issue that was on my mind, and I couldn't find any answer to it. And I looked for a few days in various books, and I asked people as well, but I couldn't seem to find any answer to that. So that's why I said I'll get back to him, but I still haven't found any clear-cut answer. To me, it seems it's fine that this ruling, according to Hanafis, is only when the person is in the middle of the of Umrah, middle of Hajj. But if they're at the end of it, then it's totally fine. Yeah, as in a person has to get their hair cut anyway. So this is not really an offense. This is not committing an offense to the haircut. This is actually considered to be something which takes them out of Ihram. So they're required to do that. Okay, so I hope that answers the question. Okay, when praying Fajr, Maghrib or Isha by oneself, should the recitation for the first 2 rakats be out loud? I notice a lot of people pray them quietly when they pray alone. Is there a difference of opinion? According to Hanafis, if you are praying on your own, then you have a choice of reciting aloud or quietly. It's not obligatory to recite aloud, nor is it obligatory to recite quietly. However, it's preferred to recite quietly in the quiet prayers. But if you're praying in congregation and you're the imam, then you have to recite aloud in the first 2 rakats of Maghrib, Isha and Fajr. These 3 prayers, in the first 2 rakats, you must recite aloud if you're the imam. And on the other salats, you must recite quietly. As for if you're praying on your own, the Hanafis say you have a choice. You can recite aloud or you can recite quietly. That's up to you. Other madhabs, I haven't really checked all the madhabs, but I know Maliki madhab, they say that you have to recite aloud even if you're praying on your own. That's from what I remember. Maybe I might be mistaken in that. Someone might correct me, but that's what I remember from that. But other madhabs, I'm not too sure. Okay, let's check out some of your questions then. Okay, what is the best form of da'wah? What is the best form of da'wah? I don't know what the best form of da'wah is. I don't know. What are the forms of da'wah? If you can tell me what the forms of da'wah is, then maybe that makes it a bit more clear to me. Wa alaikum assalam, akhi. I have a question which I hope you can answer. May Allah reward you. I mean, how did you revise when you were studying in Pakistan? How did I revise? I mean, for different books, I would revise in different ways. So, for example, if it was something that required memorization, I would memorize it. If it was something that required comprehension, I would try to comprehend it. If it was something that required making like diagrams and notes, I would make diagrams and notes. So different things would be different, I would say. And what I would say is, don't try to copy other people in their methods of revision. Try to find the one that's most beneficial for you. A lot of the time, what used to happen in Pakistan was we used to have after Maghrib all the way till late at night, 11, 12 o'clock at night, we used to have groups. We used to have groups in our classes, and we used to go over all the books that we covered in the day. We used to go over it, re-explain it to ourselves, and any questions we had, we tried to solve those questions ourselves. Yeah, and if we didn't know the answer, we'd make a note of it and ask the teacher the next day. Yeah, so that's how I would revise. Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullah. Wa alaikum assalam, Sister Hamida. S. Hussein, wa alaikum assalam. When you are traveling and praying qasr, do you still have to pray sunnah mu'akkada of Fajr and Maghrib? So according to Hanafis, there are 5 opinions according to Hanafis with regards to should you pray your sunnahs on a journey. They range from no, you should not, and to yes, you do. So the opinion that many of the scholars mention is you should try to pray them if you are residing in a place, like if you're not moving. So if you're moving, let's say for example you're on the motorway and you're going to pray in a service station, or you're going to pray, just stop off somewhere and pray and continue your journey, then you don't have to pray. Yeah, then carry on. But if you're residing in a hotel, or you're residing in someone's home or a place for a few days and you're going to be there, then it's best to pray your sunnahs. As for Fajr, you should try to pray them as much as possible, the sunnahs, even if you're moving. Yeah. Munir, wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullah. I was wondering how you should price artwork. It's all up to you. All up to you. Whatever price you want to give it, whatever you think it's worth. It's like pricing anything, right? It's your work, it's your product, and you have full right to price it at any price you want. And if obviously someone wants to buy it, that's another thing that is. But you have there's nothing sort of like saying that it's prohibited to have a particular price. Anything that you think is fine. Gaming with mithaq, is it true that if you touch a dog, you have to do wudu 7 times before praying? No, this is not true. Yeah, not true. Bilal, Sheikh, I love the pakol. You're welcome. Alhamdulillah. So, as I said, guys, this is my hat that was gifted to me. And because winter's finishing, I thought, you know what, I might as well wear it. Because if I don't wear it, or maybe I can send it to one of you guys. Yeah, I don't know. We'll see. Okay, let's have a look at some questions then. Okay, Assalamu alaikum, dear Sheikh. Please, can you explain the different types of qatl and their rulings, punishments? I'm confused between qatl and qatl shibun amad as to how they are different. Also, please, if you can tell me which type of killing someone in a car accident be. What about killing with poison or strangulation? Lastly, can you refer a book in which has more detail? Okay, it's a good question. This is to do with the penal code in fiqh. So the penal code in fiqh basically is that it's just like any country has a system of upholding the law, and if you have a system of upholding the law, you have to have some sort of deterrence, right? So punishments that if a person does this, then they could end up with this particular type of punishment. And in this country, we have imprisonment, fines, etc. Islamically, you have various types of punishment. So, for example, like if you kill someone, then killing is obviously something which is not wanted in any society because it leads to bloodshed, more bloodshed. So Islamically, they broke down killing into 5 categories. So the first category is what is known as the highest level. So from highest to lowest. The highest level of killing is what they call killing bil amad, deliberate killing, right? Intentional, premeditated killing. And then below that, number 2, you have what is known as shibhun bil amad, which is not deliberate, but it resembles it. Maybe the closest in this country would be something like manslaughter. I don't know. I'm not too familiar with the exact details of how manslaughter is classed in or defined in this country. And then you have something which is known as khata, which is an accident, and then you have jar majal khata, and then sabab. So you have an accident, and then you have something which resembles an accident, and then you have something which is sabab, right, which is like a cause. So I'll explain each one. So for example, like if a person was to take a sword and was to go after someone and was to kill them, right, or a knife and stab them and murder them, that's known as the highest level of killing. That's like the worst type, where you premeditated, intended to kill someone with using a weapon which is normally used to kill. So that's the highest level. And then the second level is where you kill someone, but you didn't use a weapon which normally kills. So for example, let's say you had a pen and you got angry at someone and you threw that pen at them, and that pen hit them, and you hit it so hard that it hit them in a place in their head which was very fragile, and it caused some brain hemorrhage, and they died. So you wouldn't be classed in the first category. And the third type is what is known as khata, accident, right? So accident, for example, like let's say you're hunting and you get your gun out and you're going to shoot your animal, rabbit or whatever, deer, I don't know what you hunt, and you shoot it, and all of a sudden a person accidentally came in the way and it hit them and they died. That would be accidental. And then the fourth type is where you have what is known as jar majri al khata, where for example, like let's say someone was asleep and you rolled over and you squashed them, you suffocated them, and you didn't realize, and so this would be considered in courts as jar majri khata. It resembles accident, but it's less than an accident, right? Because there wasn't really any sort of intention, there was no consciousness. And then finally you have sabab, and sabab is basically where, let's say you dig a ditch in the public path. So you dug a hole in the public path. Let's say your water pipe burst or something, and you went to fix it and you dug a hole, and then you left it, you went inside, and someone walked by, and without any warning they fell in and broke their neck and died. So this is like, you were the kind of cause for this. So the rule basically is that if it's at the highest level of killing, then the victim's family, remember, according to Islam, murder is not a crime against the state. It's a crime against a person, the victim's family. So the victim have full right to pardon you and you won't go to prison. But like in this country, murder is considered to be a crime against the state. Even if the victim's family forgives you, you're still going to go to prison. So Islamically, Islam doesn't see it that way. So the first highest level, either the family can ask for your life to be taken. That's level number one. And if they don't want that, they can take blood money. And if they don't want that, they can forgive you. So they've got three options. As for all the other ones, they can forgive you or they can take blood money. And the blood money is going to be of a lesser blood money than the first one. That's basically the summary of killing. Okay, which book would I refer to? So, I don't know about any English books on this topic, but Arabic books, there are plenty of them, like Quduri, Kanzu Daqaiq, Badai Sanai, Hidayah. All these books have it detailed. Badai Sanai would probably be the best one to read. It's the most detailed. Assalamu alaikum. Can you explain how a 4 rakat sunnah ghair muakkada would be prayed? Specifically, is durood read after the shahud in the first sitting? Also, is thana, ta'awuz and tasmiyah read before third fatiha in third rakat? So, according to Hanafis, when you pray anything, any optional prayer, meaning any prayer that's not fard, then you have to recite in every rakat fatiha and surah, right? So like whether it's sunnah muakkada, whether it's just a general nafal, you have to recite in every single rakat fatiha and surah. So let's say you pray 4 rakats before dhuhr, sunnah muakkada, you have to recite in all 4 rakats fatiha and surah, or after dhuhr, or in the daytime you just feel like praying some nafal, you got to do that. Now the question is that Hanafis consider whenever you pray 4 rakats, they consider each 2 to be like a separate salat. So even though you prayed 4 rakats together, technically Hanafis say you've actually prayed two pairs, two sets. So you pray 4, it's 2 and 2 you prayed. So it's like 2 nafals you prayed. 2 nafal, like that. So this is why some of them have mentioned that it's preferred, mustahab, for a person when they get up from the ghair mu'akkada, from the ones which are not mu'akkada, nafal, for them to, in the third rakat, to recite thana again. Yeah, so thana and ta'awudh and all that again. Many of them have said that it's preferred for that. And some have said, no, you don't have to. Okay. Got some of your questions then. Okay, as said, Assalamu alaikum. Can you give us a tour of some of the books behind you and give us a brief background to them? Jazakallah khair. Inshallah, at the end, if there is time, I will try to do that, inshallah. Okay, next. Okay, MP, if you want to wear earrings that dangle down but you're wearing a hijab, can you show that part of your earlobe whilst wearing the hijab so you're able to wear the earrings? This is, in that situation, I would say, if it's difficult for a person to wear the scarf around them, then for them to take the earrings out, yeah, and if a little bit is shown, maybe there's some exemption there, but otherwise to show the full ear, then it wouldn't be allowed. Yeah, but if they're wearing earrings, let's say they're going for an event and they're wearing earrings and it's very difficult for them to, I don't see why it's difficult for a person to, unless I understand, maybe like they're going to a women's event and they don't want to take the scarf off, but they want to show their earrings at the same time. So they want to be covered at the same time, but at the same time they want to show their jewelry. Yeah, I understand what you're saying. I don't really know. I haven't really checked into it, but from what I'm thinking is if it was a little bit being shown, because of that, just allow the earring to come out, then there might be scope for that. But for the full ear to be shown, I don't see there being any sort of darura there, like a haraj. Wallah alam, Allah knows best. Yeah, but good question. It's a good question. Something that might require researching. How to get khushu in salat? Recently I'm struggling and need to repeat or start again my prayers to the point where it's really exhausting. Okay, so yeah, good question this is. The thing is, look, everyone goes through problems in their life. Everyone has issues. No one's salat is ever going to be perfect like the salat of, the prophets of Allah. Their salat was at the highest level. They were fully conscious of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and our salat's never going to reach that level. Our salat is going to be like a oscillation. So sometimes it's going to be very, very, very spiritual, and sometimes be less spiritual. So as long as we have done our salat, that's the main thing. That is, trying to get khushu is very good. Yeah, but if you don't get khushu, I wouldn't worry about it. Yeah, don't repeat your salat again. No need to. Just carry on. And try to create khushu in your salat. Khushu in your salat will simply just be when you're praying your salat, relax your limbs, like when you're praying, relax your shoulders and breathe out as much as possible. And just try to focus on your recitation. Yeah, try that and it just increases your concentration in salat. And make dua to Allah as well. If a man knows his parents won't approve of him getting married when young, can he do it and let them know? This would all depend on situation, I would say. Maybe, possibly, depending on situation, person's circumstances. I wouldn't be able to give a brush ruling for everyone. But I would say a person should look into their situation, assess the situation, see if whether that person they're getting married to is appropriate for them. Sometimes a person rushes into things. They might fall in love with someone and he or she might want to marry the person, and then they find out when they get married, they find out there was the wrong person. It was just too many emotions. So I would say you look at the situation. Okay, guys, like the stream. Okay, if someone has missed 20 to 30 fasts without valid reason, e.g. they weren't ill, etc., can they give charity rather than fasting consecutively? Because that would be difficult to do. You'd be fasting for months. You wouldn't be fasting for months, because if it's 20 to 30 fasts, I don't think it's months. It's only 1 month. Yeah, so I think that's possible. So all they have to do is just break it up. Yeah, break it up, fast, slowly, bit by bit, and try to make it up as they go along, inshallah. No, charity wouldn't be accepted in that situation. unless the doctors had said that they were unable to fast for the rest of their lives. Assalamu alaikum ya Shaykh. Could you tell me the best way to read the Quran? The best way to read the Quran or to memorize the Quran is, I would say, is try to start a class. Yeah, try to attend a class, join a class, Quran class. That's the best way to do these things, because what will happen is you're going to lose motivation on your own, because it's a long project. So when you have a long project, you always have to have others that are motivating you. So join a class, I would say. That's the best way. Wa alaikum assalam, Kamran. Okay, let's have a look at some more questions here. Okay, assalamu alaikum dear Shaykh. Please can you explain how much najasat khafifa is excused to have on your clothes in prayer? I've heard varying things and I'm confused. I understand that it's a fourth, but not sure a fourth of what? Fourth of total clothes, fourth of a limb affected. Please, if you can explain this in detail. Also, is urine of halal animals najasa khafifa? What else is najasa khafifa? Okay, so this question is to do with impurity. So impurities, what we have to remember is, in Islam, impurities are something which we are told by Allah. We cannot figure out what's impure on our own, right? So we can't just like kind of sit in a room with intelligent people and say, okay guys, what should we decide? What shall we make impure in the world? We can't do that. Allah has told us what's impure, right? So pigs are impure, and spurting blood is impure, and urine is impure, and so forth like that. So because of this, the scholars now, they differ with regards to certain things that Allah, the Prophet ﷺ have told us. The level of certainty of the impurity differs. Like some people might say they're impure and some people might say they're not. So for example, everyone agrees pigs' urine is impure. But cow's urine, there's a difference of opinion. Why? Because there are narrations that indicate that cow's urine is okay. So this is why, like Malikis and Imam Muhammad rahimahullah says the cow's urine is okay. Now, if this is the situation, then obviously it can't be very severe. Like if there are scholars in Islam who differ in this ruling, the Hanafis say it can't be that strict. It can't be as strict as pig. So this is why the Hanafis say that the impurity is there, but it's a lesser impurity. They call it a najasa khafifa. So if a person has the highest level of najasa, like pig's urine, for example, then you can only have the amount, or human urine, you can only have the amount of one coin, the size of one coin on your clothing or on your body. And if you have more than that and you pray salat, they say your salat will not be valid. But if you have on your clothing, let's say, najasa, impurity, which is differed by the scholars, so some say it's pure, some say it's impure, then the level of that is actually tolerated more. So this is why you can have more of it on your body and pray. So for example, some of the Hanafis say that it's a quarter of your limbs, clothing, and some of them say a third, and some of them say a half. So generally the Hanafis say that they use the quarter. So a quarter of your clothing, your entire clothing that you have, they say you look at the quarter of that. So if it's trousers, you look at a quarter of your trousers. If the amount of urine on your trousers is more than the entire trousers, quarter of the entire trousers, then you can't pray in there. All right, so you just use that rule. And also, is urine of halal animals najasa khafifa? Yeah. So the urine of animals that we can eat, there is najasa khafifa. Okay. Right, next. Is zakat due on long-term loans? So there's a difference of opinion amongst the scholars. Mufti Taqi Uthmani and others and contemporary scholars have said yes, there is. So long-term loans would be loans that are structured debts, that we call them structured debts, that you don't have to pay them off immediately. And the reason for this is because in fiqh, the Hanafis say that loans or debts, there's two words that are generally used for money that you owe. One is a debt, which is money that you owe because you've come into some sort of an agreement with someone, like a contract. You purchased something, or you've loaned something, you've rented something. This is known as a dain, a debt. And then you have a second type, which is known money that you owe because of a loan that you borrowed. So you borrowed some money of someone. So the rule is that when you have something which is money that you owe to someone, you don't have to give zakat on it. But nowadays, when we talk about long-term loans like mortgages or student loans, then what happens is you don't have to pay them off immediately. The idea is that they are paid off over a long period of time. So because they're paid off over a long period of time, that means that there's no burden on a person if a person doesn't pay them off straight away. So the idea of why is in zakat a loan deducted from the zakat assets, it's because a loan can be demanded or asked for at any time. Even if a person says you borrowed, let's say, £100 from someone, and they say, I'll take it back off you after a month, and then they change their mind and say, I want it tomorrow. They can actually legally they can do that, right? So this is why zakat becomes burdensome then, right? So this is why it's not counted in zakat. But these long-term loans don't function like that. The way they operate is that they're based on long-term, yeah. So a long period. Okay. Right. Assalamu alaikum. What's up? I'd say best form of da'wah is through your good akhlaq. Very good. Definitely. I mean, it all depends what a person means by da'wah. Like, you existing as a Muslim, that in itself is a da'wah, right? You existing as a Muslim and you telling people you're a Muslim, that itself is creating this curiosity inside of non-Muslims about what Islam is about. That's why I asked the question, what do you mean by da'wah? I wanted to ask, what should you do if you forget to do sajda sahu to make up for something you forgot to do in namaz? Happens with me every time. Okay, so if you forget to do sajda sahu, like let's say for example it's Asr time and you prayed your Asr and you forgot to do sajda sahu, if you haven't moved from your place, so you gave salam and you haven't turned your chest away from the qibla and you haven't spoken to anyone, just do it then. Yeah, you can do it. So do sajda sahu and it'll be fine. If however you have got up, then you'll have to repeat your salat again, so long as there is enough time left for Asr. And if Asr time has expired, then you don't have to repeat the Asr. The salat's done. It's like sealed, it's done now. Nice hat, Khan Saab. Jazakallah khair, Kamran. MashaAllah. Would you like one of these hats? Okay, why now? There was a lot of debate on SM regarding women not being allowed to pray in mosque, especially the Hanafis are the strictest in this regard. Is there no scope for looking at this issue again, keeping in mind, where did it go? The fact that women nowadays don't stay at home all the time like they used to. We are out and about most of the day. Where do you want us to pray? Okay, so this is a very good question. This is a question with regards to a masla, which is to do with women attending the congregational prayer. So classically, the Hanafis have mentioned that for a young woman, for her to attend the 5 times prayer is something which is disliked. And the reason being is because, like they give, is that the fitna. So fitna is a very sort of like broad term, and it generally applies to 2 things. One is that it can, create this kind of idea of illicit relationship between a man and a woman, because it takes 2 to tango, like they say. And the second is that fitna, as in her life or health can be at threat. So for example, like there could be people out there that may want to harm her. They keep seeing her every day passing by, so they want to use this opportunity to do something to her, right? To harass her or to sexually assault her, whatever. So the Hanafis say it's best for her protection for her not to attend the salats. Not to say that she can't leave her house. It's more to do with the idea of her protection, right? Because they're going to be going to the same. Now, one thing we have to understand in this is context. Very important to understand context. So, for example, like one fact we know, that women did used to come to the masjid of the Prophet ﷺ, and they were not banned from coming, right? And the Prophet in fact said, do not stop women from coming to the mosque. That's the first fact that we know. So therefore, it can't be haram for women to come to the mosque. Number 2 is that later on we know that there were some Sahaba who disliked women frequenting the mosque for prayer, especially when the Prophet ﷺ had said their prayer in the home is better for them. That's the second fact. Now, besides this, everything else that we're going to start discussing after this is going to be based upon context, time, circumstances that are obviously based upon ijtihad, human assumption. So this is why when scholars would discuss these kind of things, there was a culture there was a mindset there were things going on. Just like nowadays we have like breaking news that takes place, something might happen, mobiles are banned whilst you're driving, or for example, like certain types of clothing might be banned in certain places because it's a security threat, and so forth. So when we look at the early years, right, we have to understand that when the scholars were talking like this, there was a context. And a lot of times what happens is when people quote fatwa, they simply are copying and pasting what a scholar said in a time, in a vacuum, without understanding the mindset of the people, without understanding the political situation, the social situation, how men and women interacted with each other in them days, how the masjids were built, were there separate entrances for women, were there not separate entrances for women, were there any wudu facilities in the masjid, and so forth, right? How did masjids used to function in the society? Where were the masjids located? How small were the masjids? There were so many questions that, unfortunately, when people read or study the books of fiqh, they kind of become a bit oblivious to all of this, and that has a big effect on trying to understand rulings in other generations, in future generations. So this is why now, if you ask anyone today, women generally will go to the shops, women will generally go to the doctors, women generally will go to the schools to pick up their kids, many women will go to work as well. Women nowadays go coffee shops or wherever, they drive cars, etc. So in other words, the way that the women operate and function in a society today is very different from how the women in the society in the past would operate. So this is why when we look at all these things, it's easier for us to be able to appreciate how fatwa has to be looked at in different societies. So it's not simply about the Hanafis or the Malikis or the Shafis wrote a fiqh book, and that fiqh book now is in a way, all societies in the east, in the west, in the north, in the south should conform and follow word for word, like they say in Urdu, lakir ka fakir, and make their whole society based upon this text. Right? That's clearly not incorrect. That is right. That is never the purpose of fiqh. Fiqh has always been the aim to understand the Sharia, something which is greater than fiqh. Yeah, and if the Prophet ﷺ's time women used to come to the masjid, that clearly shows that the women attending the masjid or not attending the masjid has nothing to do with the fiqh texts themselves. They're more to do with the kind of circumstances that were involved in making people reach these sort of conclusions. So yeah, in today's times, I think masjids should have, like I've even read the other day, Mufti Taqi Usmani even saying that many places masjids should have facilities for women, because women are out and about now, and either they are going to end up missing their salat or praying on the street, which is obviously we don't want that to happen, or they're going to pray in the masjid and have to go through the men's entrance. There's no separate room for them. Hope that answers the question. Okay, could you continue with the reflection series such as for Surah Ankabut and Rum? These were very beneficial. Jazakallah khair, thank you very much. The only problem with those is, see, at the moment, my schedule is like very, very tight, extremely tight. I just barely get time in the week. I can probably count the number of hours I get in the week to just rest, like just to sit down and do nothing. Besides that, every single moment of my day, every single minute of my day is used up in either my work that I do, or with the YouTube channel, or with teaching, or with just family commitments. So that's the reason why it's very difficult. So I can only do these reflection series when I get like holidays, and I get some time to do lots of reading, and then I can prepare for the lessons. Otherwise, I can't just turn up and do the reflections. So I would really love to do them, and there are so many other things that I want to do. That's why with your help, you guys help, mashallah, on the patrons, there's so many plans and projects I want for the YouTube channel, different types of subjects I want to cover, different topics and different courses, But that's only going to happen when I get people, a team to help me with the YouTube channel with the roots of knowledge. So this is why it's something which inshallah is going to happen. I'm reading a paper these days on Usulul Fiqh, and and in it they were discussing the position of Imam Shirazi that fathers have a right to coerce their virgin daughters into marrying whoever they want. To what's the Hanafi position? No, Hanafis say that the only Abu Hanifa rahimahullah basically says that anyone who's an adult has, we assume that they have, unless they have some sort of mental illness, we assume that they have full capacity of their own mind. And if a person has a full capacity of their own mind, then that means that they should have the full right to do and make any decision that they want, right? So they can do any dealing with their money, even with themselves. They can marry themselves off if they want to marry themselves off. No one has the power to be able to decide for them of what's going to happen to their money and what's going to happen to their life. No one has that decision. As for youngsters, as for anyone who's a minor under the age of puberty, then Abu Hanifa rahimahullah, he says that the minor can be married off by the parents without the minor's permission, consent. This is because the minor doesn't really have an understanding of this idea of who they get married to, and the parents would understand better for them. So, however, if Hanafis say that if someone besides the father or besides the grandfather was to marry someone off under the age of puberty, and they reached the age of puberty and they were not happy with the spouse that was chosen for them, that minor who's now become an adult can actually go to the court and can issue a divorce, right? And the marriage will be nullified by the courts. Yeah. So this is why the Hanafis say that each individual has the right to be able to make their own decisions. So the Imam Shirazi is a Shafi'i, and that's the Shafi'i's position, is that as long as a woman's a virgin and she can be coerced or can be forced into marrying someone. Okay. What's SM? I think it's social media. Okay, so what's the Hanafi position? Mushuman, Assalamu alaikum Shaykh. Is jinn catching permissible? Are there any roots or evidence of Muslims doing this in the past? So jinn catching sounds very, very humorous, the way he said it. So this idea of jinn possession, first of all, is something which the majority of the scholars of the Sunnah wal Jama'ah believe that it's possible. And therefore the curing of the jinn is something which is also possible. And I think what you mean by jinn catching is basically where you exorcism in the Islamic form of it. Yeah, so that is permissible. Yeah, and the roots of that would be it's like saying what are the roots of medicine, basically. So we don't have to have anything which is not per se to do with acts of worship. We don't have to have Islam tell us how to do it. Does that make sense? So this is why, for example, like if a person is diagnosed with a particular illness, we don't have to look in the Quran and the Sunnah to find what the cure for this is. All we have to know is that treating someone in Islam is allowed, and khalas, the rest of it's. So this is why being afflicted with a jinn of any sort comes under a medical issue, spiritually medical issue, which in the case. And there are like evidences from the days of Sahaba and others who dealt with some sort of like demonic sort of forces, and they read certain surahs and they were protected from it. So yeah, it comes in narrations about protecting yourself from the jinn, evil jinn. Before you go to the toilet, you recite certain du'as as well. Okay, Kamran, what if they were secret retribution? Doesn't sound wise. Okay, Dina. Assalamu alaikum, Mufti Sahib. If a woman is praying Salah in Jama'ah and she breaks her wudu, can she come back as a lahiq? As when she makes her wudu again, she'll be exposing her aura whilst washing. Yeah, it's fine. Yeah, so she can do that. So in other words, the ruling of the lahiq is basically that everything that they do in order for them to So she's praying a salah and she breaks her wudu. Can she come back as a lahiq? Why would she? Okay, actually, why would she need to expose her aura? So if she broke her wudu, as in, so I don't understand how. Oh, you mean her limbs? Ah, yeah, her limbs. Ah, okay, yeah, it's fine. Yeah, it's fine. Her arms. So will her whole salah be nullified, or is she able to rejoin the salah as a lahiq? She can rejoin as a lahiq, because even like in salat, if you turn your chest away from the qibla, your salah breaks. So therefore, we know that the faraid of salat are unaffected if a person goes to do their wudu. Yeah. So this is why, for example, a person will have to face away from the qibla. A person does not have tahara, but it's still counted as being in salat. The only thing they can't do, the hadith says, is they can't speak to anyone else. So long as they don't speak to anyone else, then the salat is fine. I mean, I can't think of any sort of other, unless someone says, for example, like this issue is according to the Hanafis, this issue is an issue which is khilaf al-qiyas, istihsani, and if it's khilaf al-qiyas, then you can only stick to the scenario for which it's been mentioned, like man qa'a aw ra'ufa aw ahdatha falyansarif walyatawadda وَلْيَبْنِي عَلَى صَلَاتِهِ مَا لَمْ يَتَكَلَّمْ. So it seems as though through the Dalalat al-Nas we can say that this would also be something which is, in the women's case as well. Hope that answers the question. Okay, how would the earring be shown when you have to cover your neck with hijab? The only way it can be visible is if you tie the hijab at the back. Yeah, I mean the only thing I'm thinking is that if a woman wears that earring, I don't know, she can somehow pull out the earrings here, do some magic stuff. I agree, it's difficult for women to place to pray outside. We could use shops, changing rooms, but they have cameras too now. Many shopping centers don't have prayer rooms either. Okay. I think some libraries offer prayer spaces for the public, especially keeping in mind the safety issues. Not safe for us to pray outside. Okay, let's look at some questions here then. Should the placenta and umbilical cord be buried? Yes. So every part of a human body, not necessarily buried, but disposed of in a clean place. So every part of a human body should be disposed of in a clean place as best as possible. Should one try to ask for this from the hospital, or is it okay to let the hospital? As long as the hospital are going to dispose of it in a clean place, which I think they usually do. They don't throw it in a filthy place with feces and all those things. So as long as they dispose of it in a clean place, I think it should be okay. I'm not too sure what they do with it. Maybe you can find out. Salam, I have a question regarding things like a hysterectomy, where they remove the womb. If a person had a type of cancer in the uterus and the only option to treat is by having a hysterectomy, would the person be obliged to in order to prolong their life, or would it be okay not to have it removed and die a natural death? Yes, they can have a die natural death. Yeah, if they don't want it, they can die a natural death. It's fine. However, obviously, a person should think about that living longer would mean that the person can have chance to make more tawbah, to be able to pray more, to be able to do more dhikr, to be able to stay with their loved ones more, maybe even like do some good in the world more as well. So this is why a person should try to prolong their life as best as possible, and this falls under qadar as well. But do they have to take the operation? Then no, they won't have to take the operation. Yeah, because the operation does not guarantee that their life, unless the operation was 100%. It was necessary for them to save their life. Yeah, so if the doctor said 100%, this will, if you don't have this done, you will die, then you would have to have it done. Okay. Assalamu alaikum. Is it true that if a woman is going to Mecca from Medina for Umrah, but before she leaves Medina she gets her period and she is certain that she won't be done with her period while in Mecca, can she take the Shafi opinion and enter miqat without ihram, as she will not be performing Umrah? I'm not sure about the Shafi opinion. Wallahu alam. Maybe you'll have to ask a Shafi scholar about that. But according to Hanafis, if she does enter the miqat, then she'd have to give a dam. Yeah, she'd have to give a dam for that. If she enters the miqat without ihram, so she gives a dam, and that's it, really. Unless she goes back to the miqat. So according to Hanafis, basically, look, if a woman is in ihram, if a woman is in menstruation, she can cross the miqat. So if you guys don't know what miqat is, so it's like that, I told you, the boundary around the area between Medina and Mecca. There's like an invisible boundary the Prophet ﷺ told us about. And he said, anyone who crosses to come for Umrah and Hajj must come in the state of ihram. So for a woman who's menstruating, she can come in ihram, she can enter Mecca. Only thing is she can't enter the masjid, and she knows she's going to leave. All she has to do, she can enter the masjid because of that reason, perform her Umrah, her acts of Umrah, and then just give a dam. So she does tawaf, everything, and then she gives a dam. Yeah, she pays for an animal to be sacrificed. That's it, khalas. And her Umrah is done. She won't be sinful as well. Okay, Assalamu alaikum. It would be really helpful if you did a class on just the jinayat of ihram. This is one of the topics that is the most confusing and applies to so many for Umrah and Hajj. Please, if you can consider it. Yeah, I think it's a good idea. I think either the same person is asking this past 2 or 3 weeks this questions about jinayat, or it's different people. Maybe Hajj is close as well. So yeah, I think I'm going to make a crash course on jinayat. I think I'll do that. And yeah, I'll start do some work on that, inshallah. Good idea. So if you guys have any ideas as well, let me know. And if it's an idea that I think it's going to be beneficial, then I'll make a crash course on it, inshallah. Okay, Salam, could you recommend some books on i'rab of Quran for beginner and intermediate levels, and any tips on how to approach this? At beginners and intermediate level, I don't know about. There are some. I'll give you some names. Yeah, of some. Let me give you some names of some. Right, so. Okay, so some of the i'rab al Quran, very easy ones. Al-i'rab al-muyassar. There's one that's called Al-I'rab Al-Muyassar. This is a very, very easy one. Yeah, it's called I'rab Al-Muyassar. And there's one which is, you can actually get a website, which is Quran Corpus. Yeah, so Quran Corpus has a section. If you go to Quran Corpus, I think it's .com or something. And there's a section in there where it does all these diagrams of I'rab in English. And they're like very straightforward, very sort of like easy. Yeah, I know they're not all easy, but it's a start, really. So yeah, I think those are the beginners. For beginners, I think that's one of the good ones to start off with. I don't know if there's any sort of like very, very easy ones. I mean, I know Tafsir al-Munir by Wahab al-Zuhaili. I think that's got some, like a few sections where it does a bit of i'rab. You can look at that as well. Tafsir al-Munir by Zuhaili, Wahab al-Zuhaili. Okay. Okay, with the fasting question, I meant fasts of Ramadan that have been missed deliberately, so you have to give kafara. So, I mean, do you mean they've broken their fasts or they haven't done their fasts? There's a difference between breaking your fast. So, according to Hanafis, if a person does not fast in Ramadan, let's say, for example, they just can't be bothered, they don't fast, they don't make no intention of fasting, they don't have to give kafara. Kafara is only necessary when you fast and you break it. So you need to clarify that one. What's the opinion on people getting Botox to change appearance? I mean, according to Hanafis, what they say is any sort of changing of appearance which is not for medical reasons and is permanent is not allowed. Yeah, so if it's not for medical reason or some sort of fixing a defect, then if it's temporary, then it's okay as long as it doesn't contain haram ingredients. Otherwise, it would be allowed. Okay. Okay, so let's have a little break now. Have a 5-minute break, inshallah. It's been an hour, how fast the time's gone. So I'll be back, inshallah, in 5 minutes. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. Okay, so let's continue from where we left off. Okay, so just wait for everyone just start coming back on. Okay, so let's start then. Alright, so question. So reminder, Sheikh, in tonight's live stream, please discuss the following hadith. The Messenger ﷺ said, the ajwa date is from Jannah. The Messenger of Allah ﷺ says, there is not one of your pomegranates, but it's pollinated with a grain from the pomegranates of Jannah. Okay, so this is a question that someone posed a few weeks ago, and I did ask them if they could find for me the reference for the hadith. So first of all, like I mentioned to you guys about Jannah, in the Quran, Allah is very clear about the fruit of Jannah, that وَأُتُوا بِهِ مُتَشَابِهًا, right? That the fruits that in Jannah a person will touch and taste and feel are only going to resemble fruits of this dunya, but in reality they won't be the same fruit. And I mentioned to you there's a narration of Ibn Abbas radiallahu anhu as well, where he says that the fruit, the only thing that resembles anything between the dunya and Jannah is the names. The reality is totally different. So again, based on this concept that we have, that therefore anything which is going to be in Jannah, like for example even bricks and even gold and even silver and milk and honey and trees, and all these things are things that we simply only have names that we as human beings in this world have relevant names or resembling names. That's all it is. But the reality is going to be totally different. The fruit of this dunya and the fruit of Jannah are going to be two different things. So as for these narrations, so I checked up these narrations. So some of these narrations, the scholars have considered these hadith to be problematic, especially the pomegranate one, which is considered to be problematic. Many of the scholars have said the hadith is da'if. And let's just say it was sahih anyway. What we can say is that the hadith does not say that, the hadith does not mean that the fruit of Jannah do not have any sort of, like the fruit of the dunya don't have any sort of origin. For example, like in this dunya we have mountains, in this dunya we have rain, in this dunya we have creatures. So this idea that where did these creatures come from? What was their ultimate design? Like what was the schematics or the blueprints for all these creatures? So it could have been Jannah. In Jannah there could have been things, and the creation of the dunya could be based upon these. So this is why whenever we hear these kind of narrations, we always have to understand the narration in the light of all the ayats that we have in front of us and all the other hadith as well. So this is why, again, so whenever we hear, like for example, ajwa is from Jannah, well, ajwa existed, like for example, ajwa existed on earth, right? For you know, I mean, for we know hundreds of years, maybe thousands of years, and even would even exist for a very long time before that. And so saying that this ajwa came from Jannah, and that doesn't seem to fit in with the way that the Quran or way that the Prophet ﷺ explains things to us. So when the Prophet ﷺ sometimes he attributes things to Jannah, or when he attributes things to Jahannam, we have to understand it in the context. So for example, like the Prophet ﷺ, he says kindness is from Jannah, mercy is from Jannah, arrogance is from Jahannam. Yeah, or some narrations which say that the heat of summer is from Jahannam. Inna shiddat al-har min fayhi Jahannam. Or for example, like sometimes even things are attributed to shaitan as well. Like for example, might say, don't pray, the Prophet said, do not pray where camels sit, because it's a place of shayateen. So it doesn't necessarily mean that shaitans are there. It could mean camels are animals that can be irritated very easily, and it can become something which is like provoked by like demonic sort of whispering, and so praying there wouldn't be a good idea. So this is why when we see these kind of things, we always have to try and understand it in a correct context. So literally taking hadith can become very problematic, because we have lots of hadith where if we take the literal meaning of them, then people who have grudges against Muslims and Islam, Islamophobes and so-called ex-Muslims, they use these kind of texts and the zahir meaning, the apparent meaning, the unrefined, the sort of like investigated meaning, they take that and they use it as ammunition against the Muslims. So they say things like, oh, look, in your Quran it says, for example, like inna kayda kunna azim. Yeah, women's like conniving is the worst conniving out there. It's the most strongest conniving that can happen. Yeah, and what else did they mention? Things like the Quran mentions, that the earth, that the sun sets and the sun rises. So the Quran is going against science. So see, what they're looking for is just like a sort of little mistake, or a sort of a little hint towards a mistake, which they want to catch. And the Quran's obviously got no mistakes. It's how you have to understand the language. That's the whole issue. Yeah, so this is why these kind of questions about the Jannah, very good questions, but we have to understand it in the context. Like for example, maybe the Prophet ﷺ said other things about Jannah. Yeah, being meek and being humble is from Jannah. Yeah, the Hajar Aswad is from Jannah. Yeah, so all these kind of things. What does that exactly mean? Does it really mean that it's from Jannah? Does it mean that it's from a place which is close to Jannah? Does it mean that it's, how do all these things make sense? Hope that makes sense. Okay, alright, next. Okay, what's the opinion on people getting Botox to change appearance? How to stop masturbation. So, how to stop masturbation, the main thing is a person has to remove from their lives all those things that's encouraging them to do this. Like, for example, pornography, or listening to things that they shouldn't be listening to, watching things they shouldn't be watching. Those are the main reasons, and diet as well. Having a healthy diet, cut down on meat, eat a more vegetable-based diet, and you'll see naturally that person will be less inclined to masturbation, right? And if a person is married, then obviously they can fulfill their sexual desires in a more halal way. What's the opinion on people wearing makeup to enhance or change facial features? Again, it's like one of those kind of very tricky ones, this is, because it's like Islam has allowed women to be able to adorn themselves, but at the same time, it's like Islam does not want anyone to deceive a future spouse, right, from knowing what the reality of this woman is. So that's where you have the two. So Islam allows adornment, but it doesn't allow deception of the future spouse. So anything in between is like something that has to be decided, and makeup changes with time as well. So the makeup in Saudi Arabia, 1,500 years ago was very different from what we have today. Makeup in Africa, makeup in China, makeup in different parts of the world is seen in different ways. Some people emphasize more on trying to cover up the blemishes. Some people try to put more color on. Some people try to darken their eyes, put tattoos on their skin. So this is why it's an area that requires a lot of discussion. So we don't really have time to go into that, but generally it would be allowed, because the whole point of makeup is to enhance features. That's what it's all about, enhancing features. But aim is deception. Okay, Sharif will. Assalamu alaikum rahmatullah. Ahlan wa sahlan. The brother from another mother. When you have security at masjid, how should the people on security handle Jumu'ah prayers? Second Jumu'ah. Yeah, I mean, it's a difficult one. I would say that just try to remember that end of the day, people are human beings at the end of the day, and they are Muslim, and they tend to make mistakes, and in big gatherings you are going to have people, so try to be a bit calm with them, try not to be harsh with them, try to be as understanding as possible, calm, trying to be sabr, and calmness is the most important thing. But the main thing is always have organization. If you have a very good organization, as in organization plan of how people enter and how people exit, and where they take their shoes off and all these kind of things, I think that is the most important thing. And in the Quran, Allah teaches us about importance of organizing mass numbers. Just like when Musa alayhi salam, the Bani Israel were 12 tribes, and the 12 tribes didn't get on with each other. So Allah told Musa, strike the rock with your stick, and 12 fountains of water will come out. And those 12 fountains of water are going to be for every tribe. Everyone will know where to drink from. So it was like very important that if you've got a large number of people with you, that you have all their needs are catered for, right? The basic human needs are catered for. So I think that's what the main thing that we need in these masjids. Sometimes the health and safety is compromised, and sometimes people's needs are not taken care of as well. That's the main thing. What about women praying in the Haramain? People say they should pray in the hotel. Seems ridiculous when you have the blessed opportunity. Yeah, same thing. So I mentioned this before as well, that I don't see anything wrong with them praying there. I think it would go back to the issue of when you take a fiqh ruling, and that fiqh ruling is purely deduced, like a purely deduced ruling, and then that purely deduced ruling, you have to understand that every deduced ruling is prone to being wrong. Everyone, even Abu Hanifa's rahimahullah, even Malik rahimahullah, Shafi rahimahullah, Ahmad rahimahullah, every one of their opinions is prone to be wrong if it's based upon ijtihad, and they know it themselves. That's why there's a famous rule in usul fiqh, which is that we believe that we are correct with the possibility we might be wrong. Like we say, there's a 99% chance that we're right, but there's a 1% chance that we're wrong. So if we kind of approach it in this way, then it's easier for us to know how much room we have to adjust rulings. But if a person takes a fiqh ruling to mean absolutely in any situation, this thing is like this and it will never change, then I think that's an incorrect perception of fiqh. Okay, Khabib Nurmagom, I never can say this name. So it's supposed to be Nur Muhammadov, yeah? Nur Magom Madov. So mashallah, we were so happy that you're here in our live stream. And were we supposed to be training? Wait a minute, what are you watching my live streams for? Okay, what's your opinion regarding those people that say the Quran isn't preserved, as there is some big difference in the different qira'ats which actually change the meaning? So this is a good question. This is basically when it comes to the Quran, I think a lot of people, a lot of the masses, and including Muslims, a lot of them, they have this sort of like a popularist understanding of what the Quran, how the Quran has been preserved. And many people simply believe that when the Quran was revealed, the Prophet ﷺ got it all written down and it was kept in one place, and then somehow that version is the one that everyone's been kind of like learning. And so that's not the nature of how the Quran was revealed, right? So I don't have really time to go into this because this is a very long topic, but I'll try to explain it in an easy way. I have done like some videos in the past on it somewhere, so you'll have to check through my YouTube channel. But basically, when the Quran is revealed, number one, it was revealed, and the words and the meaning are both from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This is what the Ahl Sunnah wal Jama'ah believe. That's number one. Number two is that when the Quran was revealed, the Prophet ﷺ, for a fact we know that he had individuals he handpicked who would write down whatever was revealed. They would write it down. Number three, for a fact we know that many of the Sahaba and men and women would memorize the Quran, different amounts. Some of them memorized all of it, some of them memorized a lot of it, some of them memorized bits of it. And number three, or number four, is for a fact that we know that the Quran was preserved in one place in the time of Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu. Right, an official compilation of the Quran where everything was put together. Even though everyone kind of knew what the Quran was, they had memorized it, had written it down on various materials. And then in the time of Uthman, the next fact is that Uthman radiallahu anhu, he actually formalized it. In other words, he made it sort of official now. It was an official script. Even he devised an official script that could cater for all the different ways that the Quran was recited. So the different recitations of the Quran isn't really an issue. Even if the meanings slightly vary, that's not an issue, because we even know that. Like for example, in the Quran, they are like, for example, yattahharna, yathurna, or ya'lamuna, ta'lamuna. These are clear difference in meanings, but it doesn't contradict each other. That's the thing. So that is the beauty of the Quran, of how it does not contradict each other. And this is why the Quran is not a human authorship, because the way that it was revealed, the way that it was memorized, the way that it was recorded, the way that even the script was invented in order for people to be able to cater for all the recitations that were reported from the Prophet ﷺ. Right, all of this shows that this was a unique compilation in itself. Right, so when people say that there was different qira'ats, or how can they're thinking the Quran is just one particular wording, like one exact wording that can have no change. No, so we have like all these different ways that the Quran has been recited. We have chains of preservation that go all the way back to the early reciters of this. Right, so the early people who recited this Quran, we have like chains that go back to them. So this is why, that's in a nutshell, that is basically. So they've got this misconception. We need to clear their misconception up and explain to them, look, this is how the Quran is preserved. Okay, next. Is da'wah to non-Muslims a fard kifaya? Yes, da'wah to non-Muslims is a fard kifaya. According to Ahl Sunnah wal Jama'ah, there's actually like, there's about 5 madhabs in this or something, 4 or 5 madhabs with regards to what is the position of giving da'wah. And the predominant opinion according to Ahl Sunnah wal Jama'ah is that it's fard kifaya. Fard kifaya. وَلْتَكُمْ مِنْكُمْ أُمَّةٌ يَدْعُونَ إِلَى الْخَيْرِ وَيَأْمُرُونَ بِالْمَعْرُوفِ. Yeah. So let there be amongst you an ummah, group of people who invite people to good, etc. So we know that there should be a group of people, but then this whole idea of da'wah, who does the da'wah and what training do you need for da'wah, this is a separate issue. But yes, answering this question, that is a fard kifaya. Have you met Maulana Salim Dorat? No, unfortunately. I've sat in one of his talks many years ago, but I haven't got to meet him. Is it sunnah for the imam to stand in another place to perform voluntary prayers after having led the congregation prayer? No, it's not sunnah. Going to Hanafi is not sunnah. Some say it's considered mustahab, but it wouldn't be considered sunnah. As people, okay, 1 second. Any more questions? All right. Okay, right. So let's answer some of these questions before we come to that one. Okay, Cyrus Von Lafay. Wa alaikum assalam rahmatullah. Cyrus. Imran, do you have to pray sunnah or you can just pray fard salat? So basically, this is a good question, this is, because a lot of people have this question. So we have salat that we pray, and these salats that we pray, there's different, like, you can say, levels of salat. There are some salats which are absolutely certain, necessary, you have to pray them, you've got no choice, and if you don't pray them, without an excuse, you'll be considered to be disobedient to Allah. These we call the fard or the wajibat. Right? So these are things that you have to do. Then you have those salats which the Prophet ﷺ used to pray very, very frequently and hardly ever missed them. So the scholars have a dispute about this. So they say, because the Quran hasn't mentioned these, and because like the Prophet ﷺ hasn't categorically mentioned that you have to do these, then would you be sinful if you didn't do them? So the Hanafis amongst themselves even have a dispute amongst this. And generally the Hanafis' position on this is this, in the books they mention this. They say that if the sunnah should be prayed, but if you leave them out occasionally, you won't be sinful. There's nothing wrong with it if you leave them out occasionally. But if you leave them out continuously, will you be sinful? So some of them say yes, you will be sinful, because by leaving them out continuously, you are actually going against the practice of the Prophet ﷺ, which was a continuous practice of doing the sunnahs without leaving them except a few times. Others say no. How can, because the Prophet ﷺ didn't tell us to pray these, how can we be sinful for doing something that we haven't been told to do? So they say, well, you should do them, right? Because this is the way of the Prophet ﷺ in how he used to pray salats. But if a person leaves them out because he belittles the practice of the Prophet ﷺ, then that will be considered to be sinful, absolutely sinful. So you have this kind of like so generally they say if you miss them out now and again occasionally, it won't be an issue. But if you miss them out regularly, that's where there's a fear of sin. And if a person belittles, then there's 100% sin there, and even might lead to even leaving the fold of Islam, because you're belittling part of Islam which was considered to be a practice of the Prophet ﷺ. Yeah, so that's basically. So what we have to remember is, look, for example, if a person says, let's say they're driving a car and says, look, I just want to learn how to drive on the main roads. I don't want to learn how to drive on the small roads, right? Well, okay, that's fine. But then when you get to the small roads, sometimes to get onto a main road, you need to go through small roads. So likewise, to get to Allah, when we say that the fard, I'm just going to do the fard, we have to remember, sometimes to get to Allah, you can't get to the fard without doing the sunnahs. Like the sunnahs are those things which come hand in hand with the fard. They complement them. Yeah, so we have to understand the aim of prayer is not to tick off boxes, it's to get close to Allah. And we know that the Prophet ﷺ said that Allah says that no one gets close to me as they do except through the fard acts. And then once they do the fard acts, they continue to get closer to me with the extra acts, yeah, which include the sunnahs and the nafil. So the sunnah and the nafil are things that, the sunnah especially, because the Prophet ﷺ did them profusely, this is something we should try our best to do. And the nafil, on the other hand, this is something which, if you have the opportunity, do it. If you don't have the opportunity, it's okay. Okay, Cyrus, nice hat. The Pakol heard it was used to be worn by Alexander. Did he used to wear it? I don't know. Basically, it looks like a sack. So if none of you guys have ever seen this, so this is what it really looks like when you open it up. It looks like a sack. So it's like a sack. You can put some potatoes or something in there. Like you go to the shops and in England you got to pay like 5 pence for a bag. So if you don't have a bag one day and you got one of these on your head, just take them off your head. Yeah, and you got yourself, look at that, you got yourself a what's it, 2-in-1 hat and a bag as well, makeshift bag. Save yourself 5 pence. Okay, SMB, if the mosque is very far, can you pray Taraweeh at home with a group if there's a hafiz? Yes, sure, you can do that. Very good idea. Dina, Jazakallah khair, you're welcome. Okay, why now? Okay, why now? In my family, some people who didn't have any sons gifted most of their wealth to their daughters in their life so that it doesn't go to others while they die. A lot of people criticize them for that. Is that Islamically okay? Yes, it's totally fine. Wa alaikum assalam. Sharif, hospital sale or use it for research purposes. Some cases, if you ask, they will tell you the afterbirth manner. Okay. Why now, Mufti Sahab? Your Usul Shashi course is amazing and I've benefited so much from it. May Allah Ta'ala reward you immensely in this world and the next and give you a healthy long life. Jazakallah khair, alhamdulillah. Inshallah, after the Usul Shashi course, you can do the Nur al-Anwar course. So I've got a Nur al-Anwar course, inshallah, which is going to be coming up soon. And that's, if you like Usul Shashi, you're going to like Nur al-Anwar. It's a bit more advanced than that, inshallah. And then after that, if you like that, then you like Usul Saraqsi, which is even Nur ala nur, basically. Okay, SMB. If someone performs black magic to someone, does it affect his deen? Can you be protected from that? Any solution? Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, look, any sort of harm that someone can commit to you, there's always a means of protection. Like fire, there's a means of protection from fire. There's a means of protection from illnesses, coronavirus. There's a means of protection from it. Even though we can't see coronavirus, but it's something which we trust doctors to tell us that there is coronavirus, if there is, there is. So likewise, black magic, according to the majority of scholars, is something which can affect people. But black magic usually affects people when it comes to like things which are internal, right? Usually mental issues, and it can have physical elements as well. And protection would be like reading ayats in the Quran. There's certain ayats in the Quran that you read. The Prophet ﷺ would mention about reading certain ayats for that. Like قل, the three quls, قل هو الله أحد, قل أعوذ برب الفلق, قل أعوذ برب الناس. Okay, New York Gaming. Are you a lawyer? No, I'm not a lawyer. Okay, MP. They've not fasted at all, no intention because they weren't practicing yet. So there's no kafara. Kafara is only necessary if a person starts a fast and breaks it. Okay, Kamran, refresh. Okay, Faris Khan. Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullah. Sheikh. Wa alaikum assalam, Faris Khan Sahab. Have you ever used a hydro flask? I don't know what that is. You should become a VSCO. VSCO, what's that? Did you eat biryani again today? No, I did not eat biryani again today. Okay. Today I had a burger. Yeah, I must tell you. Not gonna lie. I had a burger today. Nice one. Okay, so let's go to these questions then. As people have access to apps with the Quran translation, and as people can pick up hard copies of the Quran translation, what is your motivation of doing the Quran translation series on YouTube? Okay, so this is a good question. This is. So if you guys have seen on my YouTube channel, I've got a Quran translation. I've actually got two series. One is a Quran series, which kind of does a bit of tafsir with it as well. And one is a Quran translation where I just go through the Quran and translate. So if there is Quran translations available out there, widely available, why is this? So there's two reasons. Well, there's more than two, but two main reasons why I do this. The first is that our tradition of Quran, passing on the meaning of the Quran, has primarily been an oral one. So oral transmission of the Quran is a very important part of Quran. That's what I believe personally. In other words, the thing that what you can get in an oral understanding of the Quran, you don't always get it in the reading one. Yeah, so the Quran is called Quran because it means recitation. Yeah, and recitation is not like tilawa, qira'ah. This is something which is heard by the ears. Yeah, and read as well. Obviously, a secondary is read, but it's heard. Because the Prophet came with the Quran and he read it to the Sahaba and they heard it. So this is why I firstly do it. And this is our tradition, that when we explain the Quran, we have someone who has trained in the Quran. So I've trained in the meaning of the Quran. And then what I do is I pass down that my whatever I've learnt and how I've researched it to you guys. That's the first main reason. The second reason is that a lot of people, what they find is they find it very easy to follow someone when they're going through the Quran, rather than read. Not everyone's a reader. Right? So there's a lot of people out there who are not into reading. I mean, it's like people like watching the film rather than reading the book. Yeah, so a lot of people will say, I prefer reading the book, but there's a lot of people out there who prefer watching the movie. So when it comes to the going through the Quran itself, this is something which a lot of people say to me that this benefits them a lot. So they can put it on in the background, they can listen to it, they can go over it again. And I also don't just translate it. What I do is I actually sort of like clarify certain places. I'll clarify something which a misconception that some people might have about a particular verse. And sometimes when you read, what can happen is you might misconstrue what's being said. I mean, you can misconstrue what I say, but a lot of times you misconstrue what you read as well. Okay, raw honey is nice. Yep, raw honey is very nice. Okay, mashallah. Zahra, alaikum assalam wa rahmatullah. Zakaria, assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Ahlan wa sahlan bika. Kamran, do you eat honey? Any preference, Sidr? So yeah, so basically I went to where I live, there's a shopping center. So I went there a few months ago, and there was a guy there, and he was selling all sorts of honeys. They got like a whole big stack of different types of honeys from around the world. He was an Arab guy, and he sold me some honey. And this honey was basically, it's a type of honey which I don't know if you heard of it, eucalyptus honey. Have you heard of eucalyptus honey? So I asked him, look, I've got arthritis and I've got these problems, so what would be best for me? So he told me the different types of honey. So he said, for example, like, black honeys that are black in color, dark in color, they have more minerals. And honeys that are light in color, yellow in color, they have more vitamins in there. And he was telling me that, certain honeys are good for helping you blood circulation, and some are good for example, like maybe some sort of aches and pains, and some are good for. So he's telling me different things, right? I didn't remember everything that he said, but I asked him a question. I said to him, do you have any local honey? Because I've heard local honey is very good. So he said to me, look, to be honest, there's not enough research done on whether local honey is beneficial for you more than, international honey. But he said, what he did say is that different honeys have different effects. Not all honeys work the same way. And he said there's also a type of honey which is called the royal jelly honey. So the royal jelly is what the queen bee consumes, and this is quite expensive. So if you buy honey and try to look for the royal the royal jelly honey, and he had 3 types. So he had the eucalyptus one, he had the cedar one, he had the third one. I can't remember the third one is. So I bought from him the eucalyptus one, and it tastes very nice. It tastes quite different from other ones. It flows down your throat very nicely, and it has a very sweet taste to it. Not like too sweet. It's like sweet you can keep eating it. So I bought that, and I bought this other one, which was another royal jelly one, which is quite expensive. And that was like about this much, right? It was about £35, and the eucalyptus one was about, I think, £17, I think. So I bought the eucalyptus one, and then on other occasion I bought another one. So yeah, so there's different types of honey. So cedar is one type. He's showing me all the different types of cedar honey that you can get. So I think a lot of people are unaware of, when they hear in the Quran that Allah says that in honey there's shifa, there's actually a whole science behind honey itself. It's not just a simple matter of any honey is good for you. There's actually different types. There's actually a type of honey which is a hallucinogenic honey, because I was watching this documentary about it in Nepal. So in Nepal, what they have is these honeys that take the nectar from a particular type of plant, and that plant is hallucinogenic, psychedelic. So they make the honey from that, and then when humans consume that honey, it actually makes them hallucinate. It's like a drug. So there's different types of honeys. Okay, let's look at another question. Okay, with Sheikh Asrar allegedly drinking poison in his debate with the Christian representatives early this week, could you address the following? Number 1, is drinking poison ever permissible? Number 2, what do you make of the time when Khalid ibn Walid drank poison? Number 3, if Khalid ibn Walid drank poison, why should this not be emulated? Okay, so this is a good question. I saw this video circulating about Sheikh Asrar, and I mean, I don't know, did he really drink rat poison, or was it just fake rat poison? Did he, I mean, it's a bit weird. I mean, real for rat poison. I mean, I'm quite surprised. So I don't know if he really did. I mean, I'm kind of quite shocked at him doing it. Is it ever permissible to drink? I mean, then there's different types of rat poisons, aren't there? There's some that are like harmful to you, and there's some that are not harmful to you, that won't kill you, but they'll give you bad health. Obviously, you won't die from drinking it, but you'll severely damage your liver or something. So is drinking poison ever permissible? No, drinking poison is never permissible, unless obviously it's like some sort of medicine which the doctor has prescribed, and it's going to help you in curing something. Like, for example, chemotherapy is a poison, so the medicine they give you in chemotherapy literally kills cells, so technically it is a poison. So if it's used for medical purposes, then it would be allowed. Number 2, what do you make of the time in Khalid bin Walid? So those of you who don't know, so there's a narration. I don't know the authenticity of this narration. I found Sir A'la bin Nubala, Imam Zahabi quotes it, and I haven't really kind of looked into what authenticity of it is true or not. But and I think it's in Tariq al-Dimashq as well. and Imam Ibn Hajar quotes in Fathul Bari, because Imam Bukhari has a chapter with regards to the chapter of drinking poison. He actually has a chapter on that. And the reason for that is because Imam Bukhari, he brings a hadith where the Prophet ﷺ says, whoever drinks poison and he dies from it, then, the punishment that he'll receive is that he'll be going through this pain time and time again until the Day of Judgment. Right? So this is why it's haram for a person to commit suicide. So this is why now the question that comes, that so what happened was, Khalid bin Walid, he went to this place, right, where he was in battle, and when he went there, they said to him, لا تسقيك العجم السم. You be careful of the poison of these non-Arabs, because it's very dangerous, and don't let them make you drink it. Don't let them spike your drink. So he goes, tell them to bring it to me. So he actually asked for it, and then he read this dua, Bismillah الذي لا يضر مع اسمه شيئا في الأرض ولا في السماء, and then he just consumed the poison, and nothing happened to him. Some narrations mention that he broke out in a sweat, nothing happened. So Imam Ibn Hajar rahimahullah, under this, the commentator of Bukhari, Ibn Hajar rahimahullah in Fathul Bari, he commentates and says that either this was a karama of Khalid bin Walid. Karama basically means this was a supernatural act that was done by Khalid bin Walid. Khalid bin Walid, he done this, and he had strong certainty in Allah that Allah is going to support him in this, and Allah breaking the rules of nature, as in the rule of nature is that if you drink poison you're going to die, and Allah for him exempted this. And this is something that we find Allah does it for people like those Ashabul Kahf who slept for 309 years. This breaks the rules of nature, sleeping for 309 years, something we don't find. So maybe this happened. Number two, or he says, maybe this was something unique to Khalid bin Walid that the Prophet ﷺ had told him. So, for example, Khalid ibn Walid was called the Sayfullah. He was called the Sword of Allah. And the Sahaba knew that the Sword of Allah will never be broken. That's why he never lost a battle. He wasn't even killed in a battle. He died of natural causes. So Imam Ibn Hajar says, maybe because the Prophet ﷺ had foretold that he would have this unique ability that Allah has protected him from being killed by anyone else, that this was something, ahida alayhi Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam, basically says that. So this is why, we don't know really. And some of the scholars under this have said that based on this, it would be haram for anyone else to actually emulate Khalid bin Walid in this, because we don't know the reason why Khalid done it. So for anyone else to try and attempt this, it wouldn't be allowed for them. Yeah, so we have to be careful. So I don't know why Sheikh Asrar did this, and and it wouldn't be allowed for anyone to emulate him. Now maybe if I don't know, it was to save the iman of people. I don't think having a debate with Christians is going to save people's iman, because Christianity isn't really a flourishing religion. It's not really doing well. Yeah, and it's dying out anyway. They have to come up with new sort of things to bolster their religion, because Christianity is it's like, what's that phone called? It's like Nokia. Yeah, it was a really good phone at one time. Yeah, you could throw it on the floor and it wouldn't break even. But then once the other phones came, that's it. It just got cancelled out. And even if they try to kind of come out with new things, they're still not going to be able to catch up with. So I think this is why. Anyway, I don't know. Wallah alam. Allah knows. I hope Sheikh Asrar is okay. May Allah give him shifa if anything has happened to him. Okay. Salam AQM. Assalamu alaikum assalam rahmatullah. When a khatib does Jumu'ah khutbah between the first and second khutbah, does he have to sit on a chair or can he sit on the floor? Yeah, he can sit on the floor. It's fine. Cyrus, Ustad, if someone has missed previous days of fasting like in Ramadan, is it compulsory to repeat the missed days? Let's say if the person don't remember any more how many days they left. So they work out roughly how much they missed and then they just base it on that. Estimate. So they estimate. Inshallah. Okay, AQM Ustadi was asked at work to do a second khutbah so that women can attend, as we don't have the space to do one khutbah for men and women. Does there need to be a minimum number of men at the second khutbah? No, there doesn't. There would be sufficient. Yeah, as long as there is 3 people with the imam, it would be sufficient, inshallah. From what I remember, let me just double check that, because so some of you guys asked me how I do quick searches for these things. So I did a video last week. If you guys have seen it, it was on a website, a quick search Arabic website. Yeah, so I do these kind of quick searches sometimes just to let me just have a quick check. Yeah, actually, you know what, I was wrong there. Yeah, no, on their own they won't be able to. Yeah, so on their own there has to be the minimum number of. There'll have to be the minimum number of men, and the issue is the women don't have to do Jumu'ah. The women can just pray at home. So, no, they won't. That won't be allowed. Okay. Okay. Azan channel. Allahu Akbar. Azan channel. MashaAllah. So, do you just have azans on your channel? Just subscribe to your channel. Very nice. Can you tell us a bit about yourself? Yes, Azan channel. My name is Liaqat Zaman, and I am 37 years old, or 38, I think, I can't remember. I don't know, 36, 37, 38, one of those. And I basically studied 9 years in Karachi, Pakistan. I learned Arabic, I learned fiqh, I learned Hadith, and I've got a YouTube channel. Yeah, and that's me. So you can check out my channel, check out the videos I make. Alhamdulillah, Jazakallah khair for subscribing. May Allah keep you happy. And guys, check out Azan channel. Check out Azan channel. Okay, Weza Beats. Assalamu alaikum. I'm really enjoying your series named Quran Words in Depth. Allah Ibarak Feek. Jazakallah khair, Weza. Jazakallah khair. May I make dua that I'm able to continue it, because at the moment I haven't made any more yet. Okay, AQM Staji. When making up missed fast, should it be done immediately after Ramadan or before the next Ramadan? As soon as possible, but if you have to delay, it's fine. You won't be sinful. Who are you supporting in Wilder versus Fury tonight? I don't know. You know, is he playing tonight? I think Fury. Yeah, Fury supports Palestine, doesn't he? Yeah, Fury. Okay, Faris Khan Sheikh, I contacted you a few months ago regarding if you could teach me fiqh, and you asked me what I've studied altogether. Is there any way we can discuss this further, inshallah? See, the thing is my time is very, very restricted, so I find it very, very difficult to be able to make time for. A lot of people have asked me they want to study privately with me, but I really find it very difficult. You have to remember is what I have to do is I have to give up some of my other commitments, and I'll have to teach some people, and sometimes I'm teaching one person, and then it becomes very difficult for me. So what you can do is if you become a patron, on the Patreon there's some tiers on there where I give like a free lesson a month, or a couple of lessons a month. So if you check that out, but otherwise I I mean, I really have hardly any time. But if you contact me again, email me again, and we'll speak inshallah. Okay, where's the bit? I would like to know your opinion, please. In Surah 27, verse 4, it said, إِنَّ الَّذِينَ لَا يُؤْمِنُونَ بِالْآخِرَةِ زَيَّنَّا لَهُمْ أَعْمَالَهُم. But in verse 24, it said, زَيَّنَّ لَهُمْ الشَّيْطَانُ أَعْمَالَهُم. Okay, so what's the question? The question is, what's the difference between the two? Like, why is in one place Zayyana, Allah attributing himself, and one place Shaitan? So let's have a look at the verse then. So I'm not a Hafiz, so I'll have to look at the verse. Okay, so actually let me check this one. Okay, so Mus'haf Zayyana lahum a'malahum innal ladhina la yu'minuna. Okay, so let's have a look at this one first. So here Allah says innal ladhina la yu'minuna bil akhirati zayyana lahum a'malahum fa hum ya'mahun. Okay, so in Surah An-Naml, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he starts off the verse, starts off the surah talking about the Quran itself. And whenever Allah starts talking about the Quran, then Allah usually follows it up with the messages, the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam's duty as well. So here, الَّذِينَ يُقِيمُونَ الصَّلَاةَ يُؤْتُونَ الزَّكَاةَ هُمْ بِالْآخِرَةِ يُوقِنُونَ. They believe, the Muslims who follow the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam. إِنَّ الَّذِينَ لَا يُؤْمِنُونَ بِالْآخِرَةِ. Those who do not believe in the hereafter, زَيَّنَّا لَهُمْ أَعْمَالَهُمْ فَهُمْ يَعْمَهُونَ. We have adorned for them their actions, فَهُمْ يَعْمَهُونَ. And so they're wandering around blindly. So when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sometimes attributes something to himself, this is to show the severity of their action. So in other words, their action is so severe, that their crime is so severe, that Allah from up above, Allah has deprived them of benefits because of this, and has made their actions to them seem as though that they are doing wonderful. Yeah, so this is part of their test as well. So in other words, just because they disbelieve in Allah, it doesn't mean that they're not going to think that they're on the right path. Alright, so Allah attributes himself. And the other one, زَيَّنَ لَهُمْ الشَّيْطَانُ. Okay, so there's several places in the Quran where زَيَّنَ لَهُمُ الشَّيْطَانُ is mentioned. Yeah, so فَلَوْلَا إِذْ جَاءَهُمْ بَأْسُنَا تَضَرَّعُوا. So فَلَوْلَا إِذْ جَاءَهُمْ بَأْسُنَا. So when our calamity befell them, then why didn't they show humbleness? لولا إذ جاءهم بأسنا تضرعوا ولكن قست قلوبهم. Their hearts became hard. وزين لهم الشيطان ما كانوا يعملون. And Shaitan made for them their action. So when there is this difference between the surahs, what we have to remember is that usually what happens is this is to do with the context of the entire surah itself. So sometimes, for example, like we know everything comes from Allah, whether it's we believe it to be good or whether we believe it to be bad, comes from Allah. But sometimes Allah will use a means, like a secondary means, for something to occur. So for example, we know that when a person drowns in water, Allah is the one that enables their soul to be able to either survive or die. But then Allah attributes it sometimes to the water. So he'll say, for example, that that they drowned in the water. Yeah, they drowned in the yam. But sometimes Allah will say that He drowned them. Or for example, like fire, that the fire burnt them, or that Allah burnt them. So this is sometimes looking at different things. So all of this would require a person to look at the context of the surah, how Allah, He kind of contextualizes things in the surah. So sometimes in the surah, Allah wants to show His power and might. And sometimes Allah wants to show the effect of, let's say, for example, shaitan. So He attributes it to shaitan because in the surah, there is lots of elements of shaitan involved there as well. So I'd have to look into more in detail, but generally that's the gist of it. Okay, so alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Sister Zahra, Ustad, can you let your students know about how to treat disabled people in masajid and how important it is according to Islam? Yes, definitely, very, very important. Right, the people who are disabled, people who are less privileged, it's very, very important for people to take care of them, provide facilities for them. Yeah, as we know, the Prophet ﷺ, he said, تُنْصَرُونَ بِضُعَفَائِكُمْ. You will be supported and helped by Allah through you helping your weak ones amongst you. So the society is something that is encouraged to help the weak amongst them, those who are financially less privileged, those who are physically less privileged, because that's how the mercy of Allah comes. So Fiona, a question was asked to me, if Allah does not need anything, anyone, all powerful, why did He create humans, angels, etc.? What's the reason? So this is a reason to do with what we call ilm al-kalam. Yeah, this is the ilm al-kalam reason, and it's to do with discussions with regards to belief, aqidah. The gist of this question is, the answer to this question is that the question is a wrong question to ask. It's like asking, why is a circle, why can't you get a square circle? Yeah, why can't you get a square circle? So why can't you get a square circle? The reason you can't get a square circle, because a circle can never be square. By default, by definition, a circle has to be round, has no corners, and a square has to have corners. Yeah, why can't 2 be 3? Well, I want 2 to be 3. I don't want 2 to be 2. I want it to be 3. Yeah, why? Well, you can't, because 2, by definition, it means 2. Doesn't mean 3. So the same thing when it comes to Allah is why, when we say why does someone do something, this why, this is a very problematic thing, because this is a very human thing, because we're always trying to look for the reason of why. And when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does something, maybe Allah will allow us to know why He done something, and maybe He won't. And the easiest way to understand it is, for example, like imagine there is a rainforest, right? And humans unfortunately go and start to knock the rainforest down because they want to, knock down all the trees and start, rearing cattle there or something. So there's monkeys and animals living in the jungle, and the animals are asking, why are humans doing this for? Why are humans doing this? Now, if you explain to the animals, listen, we need this because basically we need people in our countries to eat beef burgers, and the only way that we can eat beef burgers is that if we have beef, and the only way we can have beef is that if we have land for the cattle to be able to graze on. And so the only way we can have that is if we knock down the trees, and we can have this. They won't be able to understand all of this. So when we're asking that we want to understand everything of how Allah works, this is something which is beyond our understanding. Yeah, and Allah says in the Quran, لا يسأل عما يفعل وهم يسألون. Allah will never be questioned about why He does things, and they will be questioned. So humans have to understand there is a restriction, there is a natural restriction of what we can understand. Yeah, so humans know this, because that's why they have this idea of supercomputers. The reason why they want to build supercomputers is because they know humans cannot understand things at a very high level. There's a limit to how far their logic can go, how reasoning can go. So this is why when people ask why does Allah do this for? If Allah tells us why He does something, so for example, like Allah has prohibited alcohol because it intoxicates people, and if it intoxicates people, it makes them cloudy in their judgment, and it makes them do wrong things. So this is why we have to try and understand this kind of like concept from the question itself. So when people ask this question, they need to understand that humans cannot understand every single thing in existence. Yeah. So in other words, when we say this kind of question, why does Allah create everything if He knows everything? And that's a question that we can't. Yeah, Allah says in the Quran, in ما خلقت الجن والإنس إلا ليعبدون. The outcome, the long-term goal of creating humans being is that they worship Allah. That's what they've been created for, so that they worship Allah. Okay, New York Gaming, are you a lawyer? Because you answered a lot of questions about law of your country. No, I'm not a lawyer, but I was just giving some examples because I am explaining questions which are to do with Islam. So it's very similar. So you can say in Islam, I'm a lawyer in Islam. Yeah, I'm qualified as a lawyer in Islamic law. So in that sense, I'm a lawyer. But when it comes to British law, I'm not a lawyer in the British law system. Okay, Weza Beats, then does it mean that Allah embellish actions in case of kufr, but Satan does it in case of shirk? وَوَجَّهْتُ قَوْمَهُ وَهُ يسجدون وجدت قومه يسجدون للشمس من دون الله وزين لهم الشيطان أعمالهم. Yeah, maybe. So you see, when Allah He says it, like when Allah is speaking and He is saying Zayyana, Allah is saying it. So we wouldn't be able to say that Allah has Zayyana for them, right? So Allah can say it by Himself, But when we say it, we attribute to shaitan. Yeah, so when people are doing wrong, we attribute things to shaitan, because the adab is that we don't attribute anything which is negative in any slight way to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Okay, Shariful, assalamu alaikum. Answer very informative, but in addition to your answer, should the people of the security detail do a second Jumu'ah because they were doing security for the Jama'ah? Yes. Oh, sorry, that was your question. Yeah, they can do a second Jumu'ah, definitely, because maintaining order and all of that is required throughout the Jumu'ah. Why not Usul Bazdawi rather than Usul Sarakhsi? Because Usul Sarakhsi is actually considered to be a stronger, an earlier source, you can say. Yeah, it's actually an earlier source, and it's a very, very, like, what's the word for it? It's very, you can say, unique in how he approaches Masail. Yeah, Imam Sarakhsi, because he's written Al-Mabsut as well, fiqh. So he's a faqih as well. So he's a faqih and he's a usuli. So he's combined the two. Whereas Al-Bazdawi, he isn't really a kind of a faqih. He's an usuli, like his brother. His brother's books are actually even better than his books. Abu al-Yusr al-Bazdawi. So there was two. They were both brothers. Bazdawis were. Abu al-Usr, yeah. So Fakhr al-Islam al-Bazdawi, he is known as Abu al-Usr. Abu al-Usr means the father of difficulty, because his books were difficult to understand. His darses were difficult to understand, and his brother's name was Abu al-Yusr. Yeah. So Abu al-Yusr, it was ease, because his books are easy to understand. So there's actually a good book that you can actually read of his brothers, which is known as Al-Hujjaj al-Shar'iyya. It's a very easy to follow book. What books would you recommend for Quranic sciences, ulum al-Quran? I mean, again, this is a big topic. It depends what you've studied before. So Shawulillah Dehlawi's book that I'm going through, Fawz al-Kabir, is very good. Besides that, Sabuni's book as a beginner is very good. At-Tibyan fi ulum al-Quran, it's very good. Manna Qattan's book Ulum al-Quran is very good as well. And then a bit more advanced, maybe something like Suyuti's book. What's his book called? I forgot the name of it. Yeah, 2 volumes. Skip my memory. Or for example, Abdul Azim Al-Azim's book, Manahil Irfan, that's very good as well. And then you got like many muqaddimas in the tafsir books. The introductions are they're very good as well. Yeah, so there's quite a lot of books. Okay, Saluna's hi Zara. How does it work with modern day drugs? They can be a source of poison, e.g. chemotherapy. Yeah, that's why I said to you, if it's for medicinal purposes, then it's allowed. Assalamu alaikum. Can you recommend 5 books to apply Arabic grammar, intermediate Arabic, like Qasas and Nabiyyin? Yeah, so I mean, if you start off with, you can actually go online and you can find, if you type in Kutub al-Arabiyya lil-Atfal, Arabic books for kids. Those kids books are very good. Start off with those. Then go into Qasas and Nabiyyin. Then go into something like Qiraat al-Rashida and Mukhtarat by Sheikh Abul Hasan Nadawi. And then books by Ali al-Tantawi, Ahmad Amin, Mustafa Sabai. These are very kind of good books to go through. Manfuluti. Yeah, so if you look on my YouTube channel, I'm doing Manfuluti. That's quite good. Okay, Fatal Tatal. May Allah reward you for your work. You read a lot. Alhamdulillah. Jazakallah khair. Can you translate Arabic Islamic books into English, the ones we have not been translated? No, I can't. So the science of translation requires a skill. I don't have that skill. So there's people out there who are very good at it. I haven't trained in it. I don't really have time to do it. There's also other people doing translations at the moment. If you like look at White Thread Press, they do a lot of translations as well. Hippos. What is the advantage of believing in the previous sacred books such as the Bible and Torah as Muslims? Yeah, so the purpose of believing in these is that we understand that the message of Allah has always been one. Like the message that has been passed down from the early years, Adam alayhi salam, all the way till the Day of Judgment, is always going to be the same message, which is always remember that Allah is one. Yeah, and that's the message that's been passed down. So when we look at these books, we know that the origins were true. Yeah, and we have to respect them as well. So that's why we respect the Christian community, we respect the Jewish community. As Muslim men are allowed to marry Jewish women, they're allowed to marry Christian women as well. Yeah, so there's like it's more about respecting other people's values as well, that their values are very important as well, even though we disagree with them in their beliefs or some of their beliefs. How would you divide eras of Islamic history? Would you say that late antiquity, early Islam in 500s, 700s, and Islamic classical and late classical? Okay, so I don't really kind of think of history as in Gregorian calendar. I think of it in Hijri calendar. So in Hijri calendar, the way I would divide it would be that I would say it depends what you're actually looking at. Are you looking at politics? Are you looking at academics? Are you looking at science? It depends what you're looking at. So if you're looking at politics, then I would divide it maybe into the first 100 years was the Umayyads. Then you have the next 400 years is the Abbasis. Then the next years after that would be a mixture including the Ottomans. That's the political. And then if you want to look at it from a more academic sort of pursuit, then you can say, okay, the first 300 years was the early years of works, and then the next years were the works that were based upon the early 300 years, and then the years after that were the ones that were based upon the first two eras. Yeah, so okay, Jazakallah khair. I mean, I'm not really an expert in history. It might be better to ask someone who's involved in history. Jazakallah khair, Ustaji. May Allah grant you success in all your endeavors. Ameen, ameen. Jazakallah khair. Jazakallah khair. May Allah reward you. Ameen. Also, I would like to pass on a few musalsalat onto you, including a sanad from Hadith Sham, Sheikh Muhammad Yaqub. MashaAllah. Jazakallah khair. Jazakallah khair. Thank you very much. How would you explain what is Islam to a non-Muslim? So if you go onto my YouTube channel, I've done a crash course. So if you check out crash courses, just check those out, inshallah. Answer should be there. Okay, Zahra, Jazakallah khair. Sharif, Buyut series is extra most bestest. MashaAllah, Allahu Akbar. Jazakallah khair. Alhamdulillah, alhamdulillah. Make dua that Allah allows me to continue it in a good way as well. So you don't want to become like a Muslim restaurant. Have you seen the Muslim restaurants? They start off very good, and then when they get loads of customers, after a while they lose their quality. Okay, is it haram to sniff or smell the Quran? No, it's not, because as long as you're not doing it as an act of worship, it's fine. Where's Beats? Jazakallah khair. Thank you for answers. I shall ask the questions during one of your next live streams, inshallah. Okay, there's a few more curious cat questions. Okay, are you one of the founders of As-Sufa Institute? No, I'm not one of the founders. As-Sufa was founded in 2004, 2005. I joined As-Sufa in 2009, 2010. So I came like about 5 years later. I started off as a teacher teaching kids maktab. I did that for about two years, I think, 2 years, maybe 3 years, and teaching a few books in the part-time alim course. And then I left the maktab and I continued just full-time, just teaching, and then now I'm just there teaching full-time. Salam, is baby vomit pure or impure? So baby vomit, if a baby vomits on clothing, that vomit is considered to be impure. It has to be washed. Yeah, it has to be washed. Okay. Do I need to change my clothes if vomit gets on them? Jazakallah khair. No, all you have to do is just like slightly wash them, clean them. So like if vomit falls on the clothing, just get some water, sprinkle it on there and just wipe it off. Should be okay. Or use some like wet wipes. You don't have to thoroughly wash it. Okay, so someone's asked this question. I don't know if I should answer it here or maybe person. So someone's asking a question that I am in a disastrous situation where I'm easily aroused by women. I struggle to lower my gaze, find it very hard and attractive to women, unavoidable in this country. So basically a person asking this question that they have a problem with the opposite gender and they find it very difficult to avoid, and it kind of makes them fall into fornication or pornography. So it's saving them fornication. So look, what I would say is, these kind of things, the thing you have to remember, look, humans are different. So some people will be aroused very quickly, some people will be aroused very slowly, some people might not have that those sorts of attractions inside of them. They might not be attracted that quickly. It all depends on people. There's food as well. Food has a big impact on your desires. If you're eating a lot of junk food, then most likely it will have a big impact on these kind of thoughts and affect your body as well. And that they say you are what you eat, and also a company that you keep as well. Yeah, what I would say is change your environment, right? Do not watch pornography. Stop watching pornography. And it's probably because you're alone in the room and there's no one else there, and then shaitan plays on your mind, and then you just have this addiction to keep watching it, and ultimately it doesn't give you any peace in your mind. It just fulfills this carnal sort of desire. So cut down on that. Stop that at all. And if worst comes to worst and you feel that then what I would say is, the only way out is for a person to relieve themselves through masturbation, then just do that. But do not go into this kind of pornography. Do not go, because those are paths which even like scientifically they've even shown that it has like a drug effect on the mind. This does, and it's very bad for a person becoming more social, and these kind of things. So may Allah give you shifa. May Allah help you in that, and make dua as well. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala makes it easy. What's your position on Muslim women wearing niqab in modern day UK, Europe? It cannot be denied that it gives kuffar ammo against us to say that we are integrated and do not respect the preference. I think I've answered this so many times. Yeah, so please watch my other videos. I mean, the number of times, I think maybe you're new to this. So I usually just tell them, look, generally, a woman to cover up more is always better. Sharia says, وَإِن يَسْتَعْفِفْنَ خَيْرٌ لَهُنَّ. However, you look at your situation, look at your times, look at your circumstances. There may be certain places that you're living in that it's not conducive to wear niqab. Yeah, and it might even be illegal to wear niqab in certain places. So you look at the situation and you make your judgment. Right, so instead of me giving a general sort of rule. Can you incinerate a body and not bury if it's cheaper for the family? No, it's not allowed. Yeah, it wouldn't be allowed. I mean, if there is no other option out there, then possibly, but no, you wouldn't be able to. Always look for a means, and Muslim community should come together and should support this. Can you turn off life support machine on family if they will be in a vegetative state for life? Possibly, yes. Assalamu alaikum. All depends again on the situation, illness, person, case by case. If a person lost their hair due to cancer, how would complete Umrah and remove ihram if her hair was grown a little back? So basically what the scholar says, all you have to do in that situation is get like a blade or something and just pass it over the head. So just get a blade and pass it over the head, and you're basically just imitating the action. That's all. Okay. MashaAllah. Alhamdulillah. All the curious questions are finished. Allahu Akbar. MashaAllah. Okay. Afraz Ali. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Al-Itqan, that's the one. Itqan, mashallah, that's the one. Book review, please. That's good you asked Mufti Saab, so it sounds tired today. Yeah, I'm not that tired. I just feel a bit sluggish. Okay. Itqan, Koisa Ahmed, mashallah. Have you ever thought of being a Sufi peer? Bhai, I am a peer, bhai. I mean, you guys turn up every Saturday. You guys are my murids. Unofficial murids. You don't know yet, but you are. Adib Shams, mashallah, ahlan wa sahlan. You should celebrate your 10-year anniversary at Safa this year with a huge 5-tier cake. Yeah, that would be good, wouldn't it? MashaAllah. Excellent idea. Even if the baby is just on mum's milk? Yes. Yeah, so if the basically, according to the Hanafis, when food goes into the stomach and it changes, if it's a full mouth of vomit and it changes, it becomes impure. But the impurity would be less. It'd be a lesser impurity because of the haraj. Just like the urine of the child is considered to be a lesser impurity. Okay, and it's to do with if the milk has changed. If it's just put it in the mouth and spat it out, then it wouldn't. Ulukapatta, should Muslims become vegan due to the climate change crisis? Okay, first of all, you become vegan for 20 years. Tell us exactly how it works. Tell us where to get all the cheap vegan products from, and then inshallah then we'll think about it. FIFA freebies. Does black magic actually physically do something, or is it an illusion in the Quran? Did Musa alayhi salam say? So according to Ahlul Sunnah wal Jama'ah, they believe that magic, sihr, is considered to be something which physically has an effect on things, right? It's not just an illusion. So Imam Ibn Kathir mentions about 9 types of trickery, right? Different types of trickery. So some is like the sleight of the hand, and some is like what they call taqlibul al-mahiyya, changing something from one element to another. So Ahlul Sunnah wal Jama'ah agree that, or most of them agree, that magic has an effect on people, right? Has a physical effect on people. Now, can it change something from one object to another? That's where it's different. That's a difference. Mu'tazila, a lot of them believe that magic has no effect. It simply is just illusion. Okay. Jazakallah khair for all the answers. You're welcome, Sufyan. MashaAllah. Look, my niece is a leading climate change activist in the city. She is from something, but some Muslim guy said to her she should not be on the street shouting, protesting, but I would think Islam would support her activism. Yeah, so I mean, see, the thing about these kind of things is should we all become vegan? Sometimes what happens is, it's like problems in the world are not because of just the one thing. See, when people have a problem, right, in the world, they think the solution is one, and there's something called systems. What's it called? Systems thinking is called. So Google it, YouTube. It's a concept. Systems thinking is where people need to realize that the problems in the world are not because of one. It's all interlinked. And when we say that the biggest problem in the world is because we eat animals' meat, that's not necessarily true. There are so many other possible problems that all work together, and all of them are causing the problem. So just because some people might have done some research and have come out with this new novel concept that meat is the big problem, it doesn't necessarily mean that is the problem. So if your niece is an activist for this, alhamdulillah, very good, but it doesn't necessarily mean that we have to, as Muslims, we have to support her just because she's a Muslim, right? And climate change, yes, we should work towards climate change, and we should support climate change, definitely. But again, how much is climate change? What are the factors for climate change? We don't really know. So there's many sort of like issues regarding that. Okay, you should sell Patan hats on the side, model it well. Should I sell it? Yeah. Business idea. How would you explain Islam to a non-Muslim? Yeah, so Hippo, I would explain. Like, if you go to my YouTube channel, you can find out. You missed my question. What was it? So if you can just copy and paste your question. How do you identify strong, good, and weak hadith? You have to study the science of usul hadith. So I wouldn't be able to answer it in 5 minutes. So inshallah, I'm going to be on my YouTube channel. I'm going to be doing a whole series on usul hadith. And I don't know if you've read usul hadith, studied it. It's a science. FIFA freebies. In Islam, I have heard that it's haram to speak about your sins. So if someone asks you do you pray 5 times a day, and you don't, can you lie and say you do? Good question. That is good question. I mean, if a person says to you, do you pray 5 times a day? You can say, yes, I do. As in, you're not lying. As in, you do pray now and again. Yeah, you do pray now. This in Arabic is called tawriya, like a white lie. Yeah, a white lie to save yourself from being called a sinner. So some of the Hanafis have actually allowed this. This comes under hila. Imam Sarakhsi actually discusses this from Imam Muhammad, that when a person is in a situation where they are being like something which is to do with their rights, or something which is to do with exposing something wrong that they've done, then they are allowed to use tawriya in that sense. So the difference between a tawriya, like a white lie, and between a true lie, what is the difference between the two in that situation? It's like a discussed topic. It requires a discussion. Okay, Sharif, assalamu alaikum. Would it be correct to view black magic as a negative science? As in, you mean studying it? Studying a negative science, yeah? Yeah, I mean, if that's the case, yeah, it's a negative science. It's like something which is like, dealing with I don't know, teaching people of how to kill people, how to poison them, how to make weapons of mass destruction, these kind of things, possibly. Alhamdulillah, all finished. So Jazakallah khair, guys, for being here. MashaAllah, excellent. I'll just show you a book. So this is, I got a book over here. So this is a book called Minnatul Fattah fi Maraqi al-Falah. So Minnatul Fattah is basically, so you guys have heard of Shurun Bulali's Maraqi al-Falah and all that on Nur Idah. So this is a Hashia, footnotes on that. It's a very, very good one, written by a Hanafi in Jordan called Dr. Salah Abul Hajj. So Dr. Salah Abul Hajj is like a leading Hanafi, Arab Hanafi. And this book I would recommend to any Hanafi who's studying Hanafi fiqh and interested in Hanafi fiqh. Read this book, man. So you can see my these colored stickies I've got on there. So the Muqaddimah is very, very good, and the Hashia in many places like answers very like tough ibarat. So sometimes like what happens is I get a question regarding a particular thing sometimes, and I look through like 7-8 books, Hanafi books, and it's difficult to kind of reconcile what's happening. Yeah, so sometimes what he does is he is able to give a good summary and good sort of like solution to the problem. Yeah, so this is a very very good book. Yeah, so I got this free actually from, mashallah, one of my very good friends, Sheikh Salman Yunus. So Sheikh Salman Yunus is a student of Sheikh Abul Hajj, Salah Abul Hajj. Yeah, so alhamdulillah, I got it from him, and you're not going to get it from me because it's my copy, but he gave me 3 volumes, mashallah. Okay, okay, Nafisa Ghafoor Salam. If someone became pregnant due to a rape, is one allowed to have an abortion? Yes. According to Hanafis, that would be allowed. Would you recommend people to work in climate change? Some people say individual action doesn't make much difference and major government policies towards waste, e.g. plastics. Yeah, I mean, it's good. Everything's good. I mean, anything in the world at the moment that we're dealing with that seems to be a positive thing, it's good to do. Yeah, definitely. Okay, Kamran, in Surah Fat, the last ayah is mentioned about those who prayed the mark of their faith is on their forehead. No, it's not on their forehead. It says Simahum fi wujuhim. Their marks are in their face. Yeah, so it's not like on their forehead. It's in their face. Simahum fi wujuhim min athari sujud. So their signs are in their face. So this could mean, for example, like humbleness. Maybe their signs of because of athari sujud, that because of their prostration is a sign of humbleness. So you can see from their faces that they're very humble people. Or it can actually mean that there is this kind of aura about them when you look at their faces. Or you can just like naturally sense it. Or it could physically mean there might be some mark, but the mark isn't something like that. People have that forehead mark, and some people don't have it. I don't have it. But just because I don't have it doesn't mean I don't do prostration. Maybe I use one of those soft padded musallas. Okay, no, the projection of negativeness. Projection of it, yeah, possibly might have. I mean, we don't know how the science of magic works. There's a whole realm of science. There's a whole realm of sciences that humans haven't even tapped into yet. And yeah, have you prayed Maghrib? Yes, alhamdulillah. I was actually, it's going to be Fajr time in about 6 hours time. Assalamu alaikum. What book have you been looking for and have not found yet? Oh, I have loads of books. I've got whole lists of books that I can't find. That's still in manuscript form. Yeah, so those are loads. I've got a whole list written down somewhere. So the thing is, when I do a lot of research, I come across names of books that are mentioned by different scholars, and a lot of these books won't be published in our times, but they might have existed in the times of when the scholars had written their book. Okay, so Jazakumullah khair, guys. MashaAllah. Are there any evidence to allow voting in Islam in a non-Muslim country? I mean, evidences. What are the evidences that you can't like? The asal, the default is that everything is halal unless proven otherwise. So everything that's a non-ibadah is allowed. It's halal. So for example, like walking is halal, eating is halal, sitting is halal, working for a company is halal, unless proven otherwise. So the question is, what is the evidence that you can't vote in a Muslim country, non-Muslim country? So that's what I mean. That's how it would work. You wouldn't be asking a question of what would allow it. What's the evidence? Okay, Adib Shams, what do you teach at Sufa? So at Sufa, basically, I teach spoken Arabic. I teach Usul Hadith, which is Nukhbat al-Fikr. I teach Tirmidhi. I teach Nur Anwar. I teach Al-Fiqh al-Muyassar, part 2, which is the part to the Mu'amalat. I teach Quranic Arabic. I teach a poem text of Hanafi fiqh called Tuhfat al-Talaba. I teach, oh mashallah, why now? £10, Allahu Akbar, mashallah, why now? Jazakumullah khair for your donation. May Allah reward you. May Allah put barakah in your time and your generosity, and reward you with better in this world and in the next world. And I also teach Quduri. I teach what else? I'm starting to forget now. Memory's going. So Usul Hadith, which is a separate Usul Hadith from Nuqt al-Fikr. I teach Hidayah. Yeah, that's what I teach. And I teach Uqud Rasul Mufti, which is Ifta. Yeah, so that's basically what I teach. MP, Jazakallah khair for your answers. May Allah reward you. I mean, may Allah reward you for being the first person to come on. MashaAllah, Jazakallah khair. Ameen. May Allah reward all of you guys. In reality, look, we're only living in this dunya for a short while. Sometimes we joke, sometimes we have fun. But in reality, we know every single minute that's going is going from our lives. And every single second and every single minute that's left, we don't know how long's left. And it's just a matter of like we're waiting in a waiting room and our turn's going to come soon. So it's all about how much good can we do in this world at the moment. What can we do? What kind of good can we do for humanity? How we can become better people, inshallah. Okay, so next question. Let's do a random book review, Sheikh. Yeah, I just did one. I showed you. Minnatul Fatah. Faris Khan. Sheikh, what's your email? So the email is in the. So if you look at the top where you have that sliding bar. Yeah, so it's in there. Yeah, that's the email. Okay, have you read Fiqh al-Akbar? Yes, I've read Fiqh al-Akbar. Alhamdulillah. Jazakumullah khair, mashallah, guys. Thank you very much for a very nice evening. And alhamdulillah, as usual. Yeah, we've had a very, very productive answering all the questions as best as possible. And hopefully, inshallah, next week we can have another wonderful. Can we finish off this on such a depressive? Not finish off. Finish. You just said finish. So finishing off. Yeah, you just emphasize that. Okay, there's actually a couple of questions. One question on Curious Cat. I've been told that I will go hell because I don't pray 5 times in a day. I have big love for Allah, but struggle 5 times a day. This person has made me very upset from her comment. Will I go to hell? So, what we have to understand, what we have to remember is, look, hell is not in our hands, and heaven is not in our hands. Jannah and Jahannam is in the hands of Allah, the Almighty Allah. And if Allah is the one who will decide, then Allah is the one that's going to decide. And we try our best to please Allah, to worship Him, to obey Him. And if Allah enters a woman and forgives her, and enters into Jannah because she fed a dog water from her shoe, which the Prophet ﷺ said, and a man will enter Jannah because he removed a branch from the path of the public, then who are we to decide who's going to go Jannah, who's going to go Jahannam? Yeah, so this is something that is in the hands of Allah. Judgment, remember, judgment means that Allah will judge people according to their circumstance. It's not like an exam in school where there's one paper and all the questions are the same and the cleverest person is going to get the highest marks. Yeah, it's not like that. It's all about each individual has their own unique tailor-made exam paper. Imagine that every single one of us has our own unique exam paper, and based upon our exam paper that we have, our health problems that we have, this is taken into consideration, our mental issues that we have, the family that we're brought up with, the financial circumstances that we're living in. A poor person will not be judged in the same way that a rich person will. A person who has really bad illnesses will not be treated in the same way as a person who has health. A person who is a male and a female, a person who has children and no children. All of these things will be taken into account for everyone's judgment. Imagine, subhanAllah, look how kind Allah is. I mean, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He Himself in the Quran, He calls Himself Rahman Rahim, the most merciful. It's twice. If Allah is the most merciful, He is the judge of the Day of Judgment, then we have no right to judge anyone else. And this is why I always say to people, even if you see a person who, wears no scarf, or if a person doesn't pray any salat, we should never ever judge them. This is something between them and Allah. And yes, sometimes we have to step in and judge people if they're harming other people. Anyone who is harming someone else, we step in. But if someone is not harming anyone else, we shouldn't be judgmental of anyone else. We should give them irshad. Yeah, give them advice. And we're living in a time today where, giving them nice advice and giving them, approaching them in a nice, soft way is a very important thing. Yeah, this is why, when it comes to the times that we're living in, situation that we're living in, we always have to remember, respect your fellow human being as much as possible. And you don't know on the Day of Judgment where you're going to be standing, which line you're going to be standing in. Even if you've done all of the good deeds that you can imagine, even if you've memorized the whole Quran, or you're an alim or a mufti or a sheikh, it does not mean you're guaranteed Jannah. In fact, in a hadith, the Prophet ﷺ said, the first 3 people that will be thrown into Jahannam is going to be a mujahid, a soldier who died in the battlefield, a scholar of knowledge, and a rich man. Yeah, these are 3 people that are going to be thrown in the fire first. And Allah will say to the mujahid, what did you do for me? And he's going to say, I fought for your sake and I died for your sake. He's going to say, no, you never, you lied. You fought because in your heart you wanted other people to be impressed by you. That's why you were doing it. And the scholar, Allah is going to ask him, what did you do for me? He's going to say, I taught people knowledge, and I, may Allah forgive all of us, but I taught people knowledge, and I, passed on ilm, and I wrote books, and I gave talks. And Allah's going to say, no, you didn't do it for my sake. You're lying. You did it because you wanted to impress people, you wanted to do this and you wanted to do that, and you wanted to harm people with your knowledge. And Allah will say, go Jahannam. And then the third person, Allah will say to a rich man, he's going to say, what did you do? And he's going to say, oh, I used my wealth to help the deen and to help the poor. And he goes, no, you never. He said, you just have done it because you wanted everyone to be impressed with how much wealth you have, right? And what car you drive and what house you have. And go Jahannam. So imagine that. This is why we should never ever be content with what we've done. Never ever be happy about that. We should always strive. We should always work hard. And we can do our best, inshallah. And respect everyone else. Try out to support each other. وَتَوَاصَوْا بِالْحَقِّ وَتَوَاصَوْا بِالصَّبْرِ. Yeah, very important. We are living in a time where we need to support one another. Alhamdulillah. Okay. You look tired. Yeah, a little bit. Look at my eyes. Yeah, my eyes are drooping. It looks like I've been on some sort of illegal substance. The iftar training, what is the main objective? So the main objective of iftar training is basically, see what fiqh is all about. Fiqh is trying to understand the methodology. So when you study books of fiqh, you put yourself into the shoes of a faqih. And then when you do iftar, you know exactly how to take that fiqh and how to implement it. So it's basically imagine a person who studies theoretical car mechanics, car engineering, and then now has to be apprentice with a mechanic for several months or years to kind of apply all the theory to application. So burger meal, bro. Jazakallah khair, mashallah. Jazakallah khair, guys. You can get burger meals on live streams now. Yeah, burger meals, guys. Kamran, mashallah. Jazakallah khair. Zara, no one has answered the question. Judgment. Alhamdulillah, I'm sure people have answered it, but may Allah accept our answers. On that note, Jazakallah, until next time, mashallah. Anyone's birthday today or next week before live stream, we can sing them happy birthday. Thank you so much for a wonderful explanation of judging people. QnA, Jazakallah khair. And as I always do, guys, who is here for the first time? Whose first time is it? Put it up if it's your first time. Let me know, inshallah. That feeling when, end of the day, when you scratch your hair. Okay, any other? MashaAllah, Jazakallah khair, guys. I just read some of your comments on the Curious Cat. Jazakallah khair. QnA, MashaAllah. I probably said your name wrong as well. QnA. Sound like one of those French apostrophe names. Okay, the drunken ninja. MashaAllah. Ahlan wa sahlan. Welcome to all of you guys. MashaAllah. And who's American here? Who's from America? Who's from my brothers and sisters from America? Ahlan wa sahlan bikum. Okay, does first time today count? Allah, first time today counts for you, bro. Bro, for you, anything, bro. Anytime. Yeah, imagine, mashallah, we could one day all of us meet up, yeah. That would be excellent, wouldn't it? Have like some sort of a big meetup or something. Alhamdulillah, alhamdulillah. One day in Jannah, inshallah. If not in the dunya, in Jannah, inshallah. We're going to have it. So, Jazakallah khair, guys. Take care, inshallah. And you're from America, yeah. Ahlan wa sahlan, hippos, mashallah, mashallah. Welcome to our humble channel. Alhamdulillah. With a Zad. Yeah, with a Zad, definitely. Yeah, actually, you know what? Let me look for some poem. You guys haven't asked for a poem, so I think I'll just look for some poem. Pakistanis, okay. Who's here from Pakistan? Yeah, go on. Shout out. He loves American more than Brits. Allahu Akbar. Who knows? That's for me to know. That's for you to find out. Okay, let me just read a poem to you guys. So this is a bit of a sad poem, yeah. So let's go for this one. Yeah. So he says, وَكُنَّا كَغُصْنَيْ بَانَةٍ لَيْسَ وَاحِدٌ يزول على الحالات عن رأي واحد تبدل بي خلا فخاللت غيره وخليته لما أراد تباعدي. This is a bit of a sad poem. This is a poem regarding like a breakup of friendship. وكنا كغصن بانة. He says we were like كغصن, two branches of a bana tree, of a particular type of tree. وكنا كغصن بانة ليس واحد. None of us يزول على الحالات would depart from our circumstances and رأي واحد, from the opinion of the other. In other words, we were like two branches of the same tree. We would always agree on everything, like on our where we would go to eat, or where we would go to sit, or where we would go to. تبدل بي خلا. So تبدل, he changed, like my companion changed friends with me, made a new friend and left me. فخاللت غيره. So I made friends with someone else besides him. وخليته, and I left him. لما أراد تباعدي, when he intended to depart from me. Yeah, so وكنا كغصن بانة ليس واحد يزول على الحالات عن رأي واحد تبدل بي خلا فخاللت غيره وخليته لما أراد تباعدي. Yeah, so that was basically poem to finish off with. So جزاكم الله خير, ما شاء الله. Okay, so okay, just a few more. How long did it take you to grow your hair? MashaAllah. Well, it's I don't know how long. It just takes me, I think, about a year or so to get it this length. I'm in tears. Thank you so much, Mufti Saab. MashaAllah. Gave a beautiful answer to the question. You're welcome. You're welcome. What do you do when you feel down and depressed? You know what? What can you do? There's no like one ultimate solution for it. It's just, you just need good people around you, I guess. You know, what can you do? It's just something that you gotta try your best to get up, carry on, do what you can, and you know, just continue being who you are. That's the main thing, and just don't let other people bring you down. But there's no one solution for it. That's the thing. How do we know what topics we discussed? Thanks. Is it a spiritual poem, grammarian type? It's just like a general poem. General, I think. How do we know what topics? So there's no topics. Just ask, you guys ask questions and I answer them in these sessions. So they happen every Saturday, 9 p.m. UK time. Okay, Jazakallah khair, guys. I will finish there now. Thank you very much. And inshallah, I will see you guys hopefully next time, inshallah. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.